Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
UConn up 13, a chance to add to it. Caravan driving from the right wing. He goes up and scores over the top of Bacon. He's the rim protector. Timeout, Hubert Davis in North Carolina.
This ballooned right back up to 20. Here's a tip and a steal. McCullough could get his career high right here to the bucket. Right-hand layup, good. And fitting that he turns defense into offense for his new personal best.
Inbound to Watson, the reverse dunk from Anton, cutting from the free throw line.
Wow, that was impressive. That was out of nowhere.
72-37. Demas, crossover dribble. Like he's at the Y, just backing his way down. Leans in, short jumper, it's gone!
All day.
Marcus Demas on the world's biggest stage at Madison Square Garden with 33 points, a new career high.
Langston Love dribbles back between the rings. Passes left side to Jacoby Walter. Walter for the Bears. Into the corner. Ray J. Dennis. Three is in. Dennis, a big three-pointer for the Bears.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Connor Kavulak. Got that right. Andrew Rogers. We're live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Hurrdat Sports Radio. ESPN 590, ESPN Tri-Cities. Good morning, everybody. Shane Schillerberg, great open. Started with that UConn and UNC basketball game last night. Pretty good one. Top 10 matchup, which was, let's just say it didn't end in the Tar Heel favor. UConn stayed ahead. And, in the second half, that's where I picked up most of it. UConn just started to put UNC away, but we won't stick too much on that matchup. But it is fun to kind of keep an eye on those key college basketball games as the season kind of picks up now, especially because, Nebraska's starting Big Ten play tonight. Still only one loss, the one loss coming to Creighton, a top 25 team there. And we'll talk a little college basketball, too, with Anna Bellinghausen later on in the show. She'll be here for the full hour. But, Connor, day 2 for you. How you doing?
Oh, I'm living a dream. It's nice to be back for day 2.
I know.
I'm excited.
I'm trying to catch up to you with that mustache.
Oh, it
game.
takes some time.
I don't think
you're doing great.
No, mine's a little dirty. Not going to lie.
I like it. I like it.
I'm a little scruffy. I think I need to shave it off. No, over the weekend, speaking of basketball, I about killed myself reffing 20 basketball games.
20 in one weekend.
Yeah, 20 in
You're
one
an
weekend.
insane man.
And I think that's what got me sick.
Yeah, it could be.
I think I wore down my body, and I was battling a fever the past 2 days. But I'm back. I'm refreshed. I feel good.
You look great.
That's really all I had, though. Sometimes people are like, oh, you pick up a stomach bug or something viral, or maybe it's the flu. And it was just like, I didn't really lose my appetite. Didn't really feel any nauseous. I didn't feel nauseous or anything.
Just a little warm.
I just was, I went to bed and I was on fire, literally on fire. I was under the sheets and I'm like, I can't do this. I got to get out of here. So no, we're back. We're good. We're feeling hot. And I'm red hot still about what happened on the college football playoff side of things. I haven't even gotten to voice my opinion yet. And that's why I feel like I've been boiling over the past 2 days. We've come across some new information there, but am I at fault, Shane, for Florida State not making it because of what I said last week?
Probably.
Connor,
I'm going to side with Shane here.
Connor, I said FSU wasn't going to get in. I also said FSU shouldn't get in because I didn't feel FSU was one of the top 4 football teams. And that's what the college football, I'm not really mad. I feel bad. Because maybe I spoke it into existence.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It kind of is. And I'll get to that too in a hot sec too. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I know Ravi hammered it on Monday as he should. And you guys got into it a little bit yesterday. But the college football playoff committee, everybody knew they were in bed with the SEC. So in one way, shape, or form, the SEC was going to get in, and that's where my head was. But I didn't expect the chaos to actually happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I was okay with saying, yeah, Alabama should get in last week. Who's to expect the 8 seed to jump all the way to 4?
Yeah.
There's In what world would that have come true when you have the back-to-back national champions taking on that 8 seed in the SEC championship game? Yes, we saw Texas beating Oklahoma State. With Florida State moving to their third-string quarterback, it was like, well, like Louisville's probably got this one in the bag, so that's good. And then, Oregon, Washington really didn't matter. One of those teams was making it. One of them wasn't. But yeah, I said, no, Bama should be the team because if they win throughout the chaos, should be the better team than Florida State. But then I watched Florida State play. And even with the third-string quarterback, I'm like, that's a pretty good defense.
They are gritty.
That's a pretty good team.
Absolutely.
They run the ball pretty well, too. And not to say that I didn't watch Florida State throughout the year, because I did when Jordan Travis played, because if Jordan Travis was on that team, this would be no question. Florida State would be in.
Yeah, they would be a 2 or 3.
It's because Jordan Travis is out for the year. They're going to go with Rodemaker because he'll be back and healthy by the time, which is fine, too. I mean, Rodemaker's a good prospect, but he's not, the status of Alabama. He's not Milroe. He's, there's a ton of things that Bama brings, whether it's financially, whether it's name.
Yeah, but doesn't America like the underdog, though? I mean, couldn't FSU have been the underdog? Who's the underdog of these 4? Is it going to be Alabama?
Are you? I was going to say, are you saying Bama's not the underdog this year?
But FSU would have been perfect for it.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
America loves the underdog, and I think they missed the boat on that.
So yes,
Cinderella team right there.
Yes and no, Shane, because a couple of years ago, Cincinnati could have been looked at as the so-called underdog, and people knew they were going to get crushed.
Yeah, TCU last year.
And people expected that to be a crushing until Connor Stallions, messed up his game planning and said, "Oh, this is how they're going to do it," and they did it the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
And people rooted for TCU. Don't get me wrong, but still, TCU just they can't go toe to toe with Georgia.
No,
that's why they got blown out.
Well, and so I think a lot of this focus with the college football playoff has been about why is Florida State not in. I think one of the more egregious things here is Georgia getting one loss to an Alabama team who down the stretch played fantastic and going from a 1 to a 5. Georgia arguably, actually, in my opinion, 1 to a 6. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got Florida State at 5. Georgia could beat any one of those teams in the top 4.
Oh,
I am so confident in that. Yeah.
Well, and so you have to kind of shift them out though
with the loss to Bama
because they aren't a conference champion.
Sure.
They don't have that on their resume. However, to drop them to keep Florida State at 5. Well, first off, Florida State was in the top 4. To drop them after winning a conference championship 2-5, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It's weird that again we talk about best teams versus most deserving.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia is the best team, but they are not in there because they didn't deserve it. They didn't get their conference championship. Florida State does go undefeated, does get their conference championship, was already ranked in that top 4, and then drops out. So it's weird. It seems to be this weird pick and choose about where best and most deserving apply.
The committee reminds me of the boardroom in Hitch.
Oh, yes.
Remember that scene when Kevin James is trying to win over the girl of his dreams, and she's there, and she's like, "I want to spend some money on my friend's business."
Hello,
and
friend.
they're just like, "Actually, let us decide how this should go down." And until somebody stepped up in the room, and it's like 7 Angry Men. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it? 12 Angry Men? It's 12 Angry Men, right?
It's
the jury.
12.
Thank you,
Is it
Shane.
12?
I got there before you, though. Give me some credit. 12 Angry Men. It's like that scene where you have to be the one guilty vote.
Sure.
Right? And that's like the College Football Playoff Committee needs a Kevin James in this moment. They need somebody to say, "Excuse me, sir." They need somebody to step in and say, "Look, I don't really agree with this."
So it's funny that you say that.
This.
It's funny you say that because overnight it comes out that they went through 6 to 8 rounds of voting on trying to push Florida State into that number 4 spot. So they continue to vote. They can't get a consensus, and they go to bed. And on Sunday they wake up, and in the morning it takes 2 rounds of voting, and suddenly FSU's been pushed out entirely. So the question is, what happened overnight?
The question is, no one wanted to be there anymore, so there was some sneaky stuff going on under the table.
Slipping $100 bills underneath the doors.
They were just like, "Hey, man, change your vote, and then we won't kick you off the playoff committee."
Yeah, and that's probably a pretty cushy job. I can't imagine it's not a bad one.
I'm sure it's just somebody's like golf scramble group.
Yeah.
Like that's all. That's who's on the college football playoff committee. No one knows.
Oh no, we do know.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, and they, judging by the picture, they are like all mid 70s. Let's get some young blood in there. See the exciting stuff.
So we'll leave it at that. If anything, I still think people should get more mad about Michigan being in there than they should about Florida State being out. There's a little thing that happened this year called a cheating scandal. But in a world of adversity, it's what you got to fight through. Florida State still feel bad for all those players, but to be quite honest with you too, Florida State could have been the 4.
Sure.
Alabama could have been the 3. You could just leave Florida State in there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Alabama would be out.
Alabama out.
Texas had the game.
I was going to say, I wanted to see where you put Texas here because I firmly believe they do deserve a spot.
Texas would be the 3, and they would play Washington. And there was something that you said before we even started today, and it was, Florida State was going to get crushed anyway because you had them at the 3 to Washington. You said,
initially, yeah, and then we talked and said, okay, maybe
I would rest them at 4. And how good of a matchup would that actually look on paper? Michigan and Florida State, even with a backup quarterback, those two defenses going head to head
would have been very fun.
Like that's a good football game.
Would have been very fun.
That's a missed opportunity. That is a real missed opportunity. But it, like we said, it
is what it is.
It's the world we live in, and the college football playoff looks as such. It is your top team in Michigan.
It wasn't pretty.
Then you have Washington, who on Friday night looked awesome.
Oh yeah,
when everybody counted them out on Friday.
Yeah,
they looked awesome.
Everybody.
Then you have Texas, who, by no one's surprise,
Quinn Ewers is just a dog. There's no other way to put it.
Beat the stew out of Oklahoma State, and then Bama gets in as the 4. So with the college football playoff, would toss that out the window.
Throw that.
I feel
whatever the hell it is.
I feel a little hot and sweaty. Maybe I just broke another fever. Who knows? Let's tell you a little bit about who you'll hear on the show today. We got a Supernova guest coming at 7:45. We'll surprise you on who that is. So stick around for that surprise mystery. We'll call her a mystery guest. I kind of gave half of her identity away because I said her. We got Brian Christopherson at 8:00. We'll talk a little Husker football with him. Maybe dabble into the Nebraska basketball points. I want to bounce back to a few takeaways that he potentially had from the weekend, and then also get into.
No, it was what popped into my head.
Also get into the Minnesota matchup a bit. Andy Kendeigh at 8:30. Maybe we'll interrupt the interview with a little bit of jingle bells. What do you think, Shane?
No.
I think I will. If he's listening, great. If not, no.
Why not?
We'll interrupt it. And then Anna Bellinghausen for that last hour as well. You can get involved on the Warhorse Sportsbook phone line or on YouTube. The Hurrdat Sports YouTube page. We'd love to see your comments on that. The phone line, 888-638-4876. There have been some quarterback droppings in the portal and some names connected to Nebraska as well. The big one coming out of yesterday, Kyle McCord at Ohio State, the connection there. At first it was Nebraska is talking to
Will Howard.
It started with Will Howard, and then it went most recently to Blake Shapen.
Sure. And
now it's Kyle McCord. So Marcus Satterfield is doing his due diligence and working that quarterback carousel. But Kyle McCord's the biggest name of the bunch. Even though Will Howard is a big name, Kyle McCord's the bigger one.
I would agree with that. Kyle McCord's got some experience in winning big games, not that Will Howard doesn't. I do think Will Howard is, obviously has more experience than McCord, but I think McCord has some more potential and gives us a little bit more time to kind of figure out what that leads to.
Kyle, 3,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now, of course, everybody's going to pay attention to what that interception number is. the Husker fans, the way they think right now is don't bring somebody in that gives the football to the other team. Like, we can't have that.
It's a good rule of thumb. It is a good rule.
But let me talk about, you mentioned rules. The number one rule that this team should be thinking about right now is who gets you excited to watch Nebraska football. Like, that's it. In the portal, you can't be just going after the names that you think are just going to be good fits right away. Like, hear me out, though, before you jump to conclusion. Matt Rule, yes, is a fit guy, but I don't think that's priority number one. Priority number one is who gets me excited to watch football here? Who gets you excited to watch football? Does DJU get you excited to watch football at Nebraska?
Absolutely.
Does Kyle McCord get you excited to watch football at Nebraska?
Absolutely.
Does a guy like, and I know he's already been connected elsewhere, but like Riley Leonard, get you excited to watch? The top 10 guys in the portal get you excited. So pay somebody that gets you excited, right? Okay, now you have your top 10 guys that get you excited to play football. Now you find fit, right? You start with excitement and you go to fit. Because you can find somebody, whether you can mold them to be what you want them to be with, whether they have eligibility left and, you can kind of work them through the system and boom, now they're a fit, or they have so much game experience. They have so much knowledge of what college football is that the transition is easy and the fit just it's like a puzzle piece. It just marries right in, right? But it all starts with get me excited.
Do you think that instead of going for one really high-end quarterback, you potentially go for two in this portal? I think you should go for two regardless. But give me a high-end guy. Yeah, and then are you looking younger on your second guy?
And I want somebody with a lot of eligibility left to kind of be like, I think the Packers do it really well. And this shames me to say because I'm a Bears fan through and through. But the Packers develop so well in terms of how they get their next guy ready.
Yeah.
So you saw it from Favre to Rodgers. Now you're starting to see it a little bit with Rodgers to Love. Now it's a little it is early.
Yeah, sure.
But seeing Love's improvement throughout the season has me thinking like
dramatically improved.
Hey, guys, sometimes a system works and that system is working. And you just need at least as a young guy to sometimes sit behind a veteran and just see how it's done a little bit to get yourself comfortable to take over someday for that job.
Yeah, it's not the sexiest way to start your career, but it is a move that works time and time again.
Now, if it's, Dante Moore, I mean, he's a 5-star prospect. You got to give the man his bread.
Like, you just absolutely immediately.
You got to put him in. You got to let him start. But there are guys in the portal like a Sam Levitt, okay? So out of Michigan State. He's somebody that you can sit behind a big name and say, boom, I'm ready. There's people out here saying that Sam Levitt is like a guy that, I like his confidence. I like his running ability, like things like that. And I'm like, okay, but Sam Levitt doesn't get me excited to watch football.
Agreed. And also, we haven't seen that much from Sam Levitt. I don't think it's fair to say, we love this throwing ability. We love this running ability. We haven't seen enough.
So I'm questioning, like, what the right steps are in this moment. But I actually believe that Nebraska is doing the right thing by going after McCord, because I think McCord is a viable option at quarterback next year at Nebraska. I think he was kind of the villain at Ohio State.
Sure.
It was a hard job to jump in and fill the shoes of CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, you see what he's doing in the NFL, but you also saw what he did last year at the program. I mean, this is somebody that competed for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord just wasn't able to do that. Now he was injured a little bit, but I don't think he adapted well to the situation, but I don't think the situation really wanted him there in the first place.
Sure.
And so Ohio State was a hard place for him to kind of just sink his toes into the sand and say, here's where I'm going to stay. So it's smart for him to get out and go, but I don't think that necessarily means he's a bad quarterback.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And when you look at the numbers, yes, like they match up pretty well of what you kind of want. Now, does his skill set give you everything that you're looking for out of a quarterback? Maybe not. Like what we saw out of the offense this year is not what you can run with Kyle McCord.
No.
More of a pocket style passer, but somebody that can really sling it and get those young receivers involved. How about seeing a little bit more of, Malachi Coleman streaking down the sidelines? How about a little Jalen Lloyd? Instead of giving him one catch for 60 yards and a touchdown, how about we give him 3 catches for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns?
I'm
right?
100%
like, let's just start slinging the ball to these young guys that can beat defenders.
Yeah. I think what Nebraska's done really well in this portal right now is there is not a big name quarterback, aside from maybe Cam Ward, that Nebraska is not in conversation with, leaving no stone unturned. If these guys are looking for a place to go, we have a place for them to come. We do have a great culture. And most importantly, for a lot of these guys in the portal, we do have money.
Just pay them whatever it takes. What did you do when you went to go get Matt Rule?
Paid the man.
You got the top commodity. The hot commodity on the market that year was Matt Rule. You paid him big time money because you didn't want to wait. When I say you, I mean Nebraska, the program.
Yeah.
The program didn't want to wait to figure out who was going to be that next guy. So sometimes you have to buck up a little bit more. Sometimes you got to be like, psst, psst, booster, psst.
Yeah.
Help me out. 1890 initiative. Psst, psst. Like, help me out a little bit. Like that. Sometimes you just got to say, give me a little bit more so I can throw it at, say, a Cam Ward, which, is unlikely at this point.
Probably.
But there are people in the portal that you can do that with. There are people on this top 10 list that if you look anywhere, right? I'll go to a most recent top 10 list that I saw on Twitter. And I'll read you some of these names. Cam Ward is number 1.
I'm not shocked.
Dylan Gabriel is number 2. Will Howard is 3. So one name already Nebraska has talked to. Dante Moore is 4. Leonard is 5. McCord is 6. Another name Nebraska is talking to. DJU is 7. Van Dyke is 8. Will Rogers is 9. Grayson McCall is 10. That's just one top 10 list. There's plenty of others out there. But how about we just start, throwing some wet paper towels against some of these names and be like, hey, let's talk to this guy. Hey, let's talk to this guy. Let's talk to this guy. You know what? Talk to them all.
Talk to every single one. You don't know what some of these guys are looking for unless you're talking to them.
And if you're late to the party, you're not going to have a chance.
Exactly. We'll give you a nice big Adidas duffel bag full of cash.
Now, Dylan Gabriel, he'll probably end up at USC.
You would think.
He'll probably go back with Lincoln Riley. Riley Leonard connected to Notre Dame. DJU, though, uncommitted. Kyle McCord, uncommitted. Will Howard, uncommitted. Cam Ward, uncommitted. Dante Moore, uncommitted. Like 5 of your top 7 guys are right now uncommitted. So yes, as much as we're talking about do this, we're starting to see that out of Nebraska. We're starting to see that from Marcus Satterfield. And I think they're doing a good job right now of matching pace.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see them get ahead of it. Like at some point when you're in a race, you can stay with the group for a long time. But if you want to win the race, you got to get your stride early.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to blow too much steam early because they could blow too fast. Like they could literally blow by the whole group and then die down.
Yeah.
And let the group pass them. You can't ever get past. We'll get into more topics like this on the show. Plenty of guests as well. He's Connor Kavulak. I'm Andrew Rogers. Stick around. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Radio. Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment and tell you a message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We may be using our phones here at the table, but when you're in your car, make sure the phone is down. Driving's a full-time job. Eyes got to be on the road. You know, if you have a burger in one hand and your left hand on the wheel, that's still not okay. 2 hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. Always have your full attention on the road. Stop those distractions. Just drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Hurrdat Sports Radio on ESPN 590, ESPN Tri-Cities, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. He's Connor Kavulak. I'm going to keep hesitating before I say your last name, making sure I have it. I'm trying to match it to a nice car that is not a sponsor on the show. No free plugs. And I'm Andrew Rogers, Shane Schillerberg here as well. You said something funny before the show that had me thinking, because a lot of fans are thinking the same way to how Nebraska is having their own in the portal or like finding their way into the portal or lack thereof. And I thought it was interesting because you were like, okay, we all knew that because Matt Rule was here and the culture that was built, that there weren't going to be a lot of Huskers into the portal. And I'm like, isn't it funny how you can just say like, yeah, we knew this would, like, we knew it. We knew that this is how it was going to happen. And it's like, well, okay, this team went 5-7, right? Sometimes like people just aren't happy where they're at.
Sure.
Whether they're getting, their chunk of NIL money or not, they feel taken care of. Sometimes you just have to get out of a situation just to feel a little more comfortable somewhere else. But isn't it funny how like fans just instantly latched on to the idea of the culture that Coach Rule and this staff has built in this program, to be able to say, like, we knew that this is how the offseason would work.
Well, there's two parts to it. One is the beauty of hindsight. I can never be wrong with hindsight, or if I am, I've made an egregious mistake. The other is I think there was this real visibility of Matt Rule and his coach's culture that they were developing inside that locker room, where fans, some people that were actively rooting against Nebraska, everybody got to see what they were doing and seeing how these kids were buying into the program. And you could really see that. You see him taking care of everybody. Almost, if not everyone on that team has some sort of NIL, getting compensated in some way. They're being treated well. They're getting everything they can. And there's only been, as of this moment, 3 players from Nebraska enter the portal and only 1 scholarship player in Applegate, the tight end. So as of this moment, seeing, I think it was a record in the first 24 hours this year. 1,400? Was that what it was at?
Something like that.
Yeah, around 1,400 players entering the portal, and Nebraska being so low leads me to believe that what Matt Rule is doing is correct, and building that culture is helping maintain some of those kids here.
By no means am I saying it's incorrect.
No,
I just think it's funny that fans, after 20 years of feeling like they've been getting taken advantage of, right? Like you're feeling vulnerable.
It's the honeymoon phase.
You're feeling vulnerable.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so you're latching on so you can feel comfortable, but it's like, are you not like? It's such a weird thing. Like there's no room for error, right?
Yeah.
Like you're leaving no room for error. And I not only do I think it's funny, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool because Coach Rule has won over the area so quick. And when you have such a long-term deal like this, it's important to win over the area this quick, so people feel like the juice is worth the squeeze with you.
Yeah.
And you're right. The insight that we got into the program this season, with the videos behind the scenes, with the GBR rewinds, with the look ends, which I believe started all of that behind the scene work in the off season, in spring football, and then in the summer, and then it was the fall camp when we saw the players like dorm up with one another. All of these different looks inside the program gave you a little bit of transparency of what you were going to get out of this staff. And then it was something new, and then it was something newer, and then there was like the newest thing. So you feel like you're a part of something. You feel like you're a part of this team, and now you feel like you're in the know. And I also think that's why you said what you said this morning, because you feel like you're in the know.
Yeah. And so again, I talk about, we get this transparency, and you're seeing these players buy in. As fans, when we see the players buying in like that, we're buying in too. Matt Rule not only is here to recruit players, he's here to recruit fans. Like you said, you've got to win this area very quickly. And I think that's something that the previous head coach didn't really do all that well. He didn't have that transparency inside.
He didn't do it at all.
No. it was very tough after, the initial honeymoon phase. Like I said, you get that first year, and the first year is always, classified as the rebuilding year. So no one's, grabbing their pitchforks and torches after year one. But with Matt Rule, we get those 5 wins. I think a lot of people would tell you that we did see progress, even though it was only 1 extra win year over year. I just think what we have seen, again, with his communication, not only with players, but with fans, it's really hard not to like the guy.
Well, he's someone you want to work for, you want to root for. He said something last week that I wrote down here. Value your own roster as much as other people, or as much as other people would if those guys went into the portal.
Absolutely.
And that right there, it tells me everything I need to know into why there's only 3 Nebraska football players in the portal right now.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Coach Rule values his team. Not that he doesn't value those in the portal too, because he does, but he's equally valuing what he's got and what he's looking for.
In the modern era, you are not only recruiting guys that aren't on your roster, you're recruiting your own roster every single day.
But the big key to take away here too is the message to the player. And that's, yes, I'm for you and I stand with you, and you're going to play for my team as long as you want to be here playing for this team. But that shows everybody else out there too what they're going to get in the Nebraska football program.
And what a sales pitch to that portal.
As far as transfer portal, as far as recruiting, but right now in specifics, or specifically the transfer portal, that's the message that is easy to gravitate to of, hey, if I go to play here, they're going to make me a priority. It's the player as the priority. It's not the wins and losses. It's not the success of the program. It's the player. And, ultimately, what does every coach want to do? The coach, yes, wants to get wins for the university because that's how a coach keeps his job.
Sure.
But the main goal of a coach is to turn a boy into a man.
Development.
It not only is it to develop on the football field, but it's to develop you and get you ready for life. And that's what Coach Rule is doing. And that's another reason why I think a lot of football players are sticking around, even if they aren't seeing the field right now, not only for those development reasons, because you will see a lot of it this offseason. You'll see a lot of guys take that next step, that next leap forward. I would venture to say you're going to see a lot, even at that linebacker group where you lost some key production.
Sure.
You're going to see some big young names stepping up this offseason where I don't think you necessarily need to go to the portal in order to fill those shoes right now. Like with the glowing reviews that we heard from the staff the last offseason, I think they're good right now.
Yeah.
And there's some names that we can get into later on throughout the show. But it's the sense of being a part of this family and knowing that your so-called father figure is literally not only putting your best interests before his, but also turning you into a man.
Yeah.
Like he's developing you as a star football player and developing you into manhood.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is.
And you mentioned earlier how Kyle McCord this last season was kind of treated like a villain at Ohio State because he wasn't matching CJ Stroud production numbers, leads him to leave. Where is he going to be looking? For a fan base, for a coaching staff that is there to support him like that? And Nebraska's got it. And they're showing that they've got it.
A little bit of the same with Chubba Purdy, right? Yeah. Chubba Purdy comes over from Florida State. Still, he was trying to find a home. And I told this story once on the air, and I'll tell it like in short form here. Coach Rule basically had said, like, hey, I spoke with Purdy's father, and Purdy had said, I finally feel at home at Nebraska. Isn't that something? Doesn't that say something?
It's beautiful.
He's not just a one-off. That's not just he's just one case in a huge file cabinet. I bet there's a ton of people that if you ask them, they're like, I feel at home. I feel at home.
Absolutely.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk with an Omaha Supernova mystery guest. That's next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Andrew Rogers alongside Connor Kavulak. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Excited to bring forward our next guest. Before we bring her on, I'll tell you first about the Omaha Supernovas and what is happening today. It's single game ticket release day for the Omaha Supernovas. Not only is it second day of minicamp for the team as well, but this is a great opportunity if you weren't wanting to secure season tickets, but wanted to check out the team this season. Today is the day to hop on and get those single game tickets. And to talk more about that is Gina Mancuso-Prososki. She joins the show now. Gina, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate having you on. How are things going right now? You know, we see a little bit of, I saw the season ticket holders kind of come through, get their swag, get everything situated just the other day. But as the team specifically, how is minicamp going?
Yeah, so yesterday was officially day one. We had 2 training sessions, and impressive is the first word that comes to my mind. I am very, very excited with just the high level of talent that we have in that gym. It's very competitive, and it's really encouraging, and I think it's given us a lot of confidence that, you know, we really are going for that championship in year one. And just after yesterday, I definitely think it's achievable. We have a great group of girls.
So what's it like seeing the support that you guys are already seeing from that local community with the first year, you guys' first match at home, first match of the league, January 24th, and people are already showing out to come see you guys. How has that encouraged you to keep going?
Yeah, I think you just kind of mentioned it briefly, but on a Monday night, and it's winter now in Omaha, so it's not fun to always get out. We had 300 people show up to our first ever showcase.
Wow.
And that was amazing, just to already feel that support from, fans in this state, or maybe they're from Iowa. I'm not sure yet, but it was truly incredible just to see that many people that excited, and to come out on a cold winter Monday night was just, it was so supportive, and we were so grateful for everyone there.
Now, Gina.
But yeah, to have
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, to have that first ever historic match on January 24th, I keep saying this, but I think Nebraskans really earned that, the way that they have supported this sport throughout the years. I think the Pro Volleyball Federation recognized that, and I think they kind of honored them with this historic match. And so I always want to give a shout out to the fans, because I truly believe that not only did they deserve this, but they earned it.
Gina, I was going to say, you grew up in Nebraska, you played at Nebraska, so you obviously recognized the support and got to feel it throughout, your entire life. But for those women on the team that came from a different state, that came from a different area, they come to Nebraska, and what is their reaction to this support? Because not that you take advantage of it, but you're just kind of like used to it. Like you kind of expect Nebraska to show out the way that they are, but what is their reaction to it?
We have quite a bit of teammates who played in the Big Ten. And so they have a little bit of a taste from when they had to come play Nebraska. And that is truly part of the reason why they chose the Omaha Supernovas, because they've experienced the energy and the excitement that fans bring to the game. And so, yeah, some of them are aware already of how incredible the support is here. For those who haven't, I can tell you that they've already noticed just how kind, they've mentioned how kind people are here, whether it's in the grocery store or at a gas station. So everyone is very excited and happy that they chose Omaha, for sure.
So, Gina, I see you have a ton of international experience. Are there any players that have that kind of international experience is it kind of akin to what you saw over there from what you're seeing right now?
Can you explain that a little bit more? I mean,
yeah.
I think international volleyball is, it has years of history and just experience. And so with the first inaugural year of the Pro Volleyball Federation, we're working towards that. But I can tell you that the Pro Volleyball Federation is working hard to make it, that level and that standard, that expectation of international volleyball all around. I would say that it's pretty. Sorry,
go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that was a great answer to a not so great question.
No worries.
Now, Gina, this is kind of cool, because as I learn more about you, as I was reading your story, your father played in the NFL, so he has some pro experience. Your older sister became a professional volleyball player, and now you have the opportunity to be a pro volleyball player here in your home state. Just talk to us about being a part of now the so-called rich history of your family, and joining your sister and your dad and being known as somebody that played a professional sport.
It's truly an honor. We are a really big family. There's a lot of us, and, there's a lot of athletic relatives. And so just to be among them is wonderful. I feel like I actually made it in my family when we made a little, we made a little Family Feud game one time, and the question was who is the most athletic Mancuso, and I was number 2.
Wow.
That was, yeah, that's when I was like, I officially made it in this family.
Okay. Who was number 1?
My father.
Oh, okay. I was hoping he dropped a 3.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
No, and then there were some uncles and cousins and my sister. So, yeah, it was really fun. But just a huge shout out to all my family members. Like I said, we're really family oriented. So each of them had an impact on me in some way, shape, or form. And so I really credit that whole group, my whole family, just to a lot of the success and just the encouragement that I got throughout the years.
Well, Gina, you didn't get here without stopping by Nebraska first. An absolute legend in wearing the Husker uniform. What's it like seeing the Huskers do what they're doing right now this year as the overall 1 seed in the NCAA tournament? How much does that mean to you seeing this team just kind of do it over and over and over again?
Yeah, I think that they make so many of us proud. I just they're college girls and they're like playing at a professional level, and just how young they are, and they still maintain like a very strong mentality, and they demonstrate a huge amount of leadership. And so they are so impressive. I love watching them. They are so fun to watch. And obviously there's no seniors on the team, so it's going to be just as fun next year. But I think the whole state in general is just so proud of them for all that they've accomplished. I know, obviously, as the number 1 seed, we're rooting for them to go all the way. We fully believe they can do it. So, yeah, they've just been really such a fun group and so special. And, you know, part of me wishes that they were seniors so that they could participate in the first ever college draft to play on the pro teams next year. But I guess we can wait one more year.
So with your schedule getting ready for the Supernova season and obviously the Nebraska season still going on in that NCAA tournament, have you gotten to talk to this team and give them a message at all? Or if you haven't, what message would you give to them as they fight their way through these last couple of rounds?
You know, I would just take one game at a time. I think that's really important in the postseason when you're playing in the NCAA tournament. Is you can't look ahead. You have to respect every opponent, and you just have to take one game at a time. Of course, I would also tell them to have fun. It's not enjoyable when you add a bunch of pressure to yourself for no reason. So I always like to remind people just to go out there and have joy and have gratitude and just enjoy what you're doing, truly. Enjoy the competitiveness. And so that's what I would tell them, is just compete. Take one game at a time and respect every opponent.
We're speaking with Gina Mancuso-Prososki, an outside hitter for the Omaha Supernovas. Gina, quickly, we got about a minute. I want to get you out of here on this. As minicamp continues, you were talking about, at least with Nebraska, about how they've been improving. How would you like to see the Supernovas improve during this time leading up to your first match?
You know, just familiar. Oh my goodness, getting familiar with everybody. I think that is just going to be the easiest and quickest way that we can improve as a team, is just to automatically start that team chemistry and get to know one another, and, you know, get to know tendencies and strengths and weaknesses and everything like that. So just us spending time together in the gym, outside the gym, I think that's going to be our quickest way to just improving and being the best that we can. And I promise you, this is going to sound so cheesy, but already on day one, we've already done that. We talked about how the second practice was even more of an improvement from the first practice.
Gina, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. And we look forward to seeing you play here in Omaha.
And thank you too, guys. Have a good day.
You too.
That is Gina Mancuso-Prososki, outside hitter for the Omaha Supernovas. Also, quick note, December 7th is the actual date where single game tickets go on sale. So it's actually tomorrow, not today. I misspoke. You can get your tickets at supernovas.com. Okay, when we come back, we'll talk to Brian Christopherson here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Here is Husker 24/7 senior writer, Brian Christopherson.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a circus act.
Brian Christopherson.
Well, I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Brian Christopherson.
I kind of enjoy that.
Here is Brian Christopherson.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio on ESPN 590, ESPN Tri-Cities. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Andrew Rogers, Connor Kavulak, before we get to Brian Christopherson, I'd like to take a moment and talk to you about the Warhorse Casino Sportsbook new location, which is at Horseman's Park. It's at a little trailer right in the middle of the field, and it's a nice, easy path to get to. They have some great signage up that directs you to the parking lot, and then you can go in and place your your bet at one of the kiosks inside, which they make it very simple and easy to use. You can also use the Bet Builder, which is on the Warhorse Sportsbook app, and it's just really simple to have your bet preloaded so that when you get to the machine, you just can kind of just go from the little tablet on your phone right to the big tablet on the machine, and boom, your bet's built. Place the bet, and you're in and out just like that. Warhorse makes it simple. So the next time that you want to place a bet and you're in the state of Nebraska, you got to go to Warhorse Casino and use the sports book. Let's go to the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline now and talk to Brian Christopherson. BC, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. I stuttered on your last name. Christopherson's not very tough to say either.
I mean, it's not Smith or Jones, so I'll give you a break. You got to you ultimately pronounced it right. Usually I'm Christopherson when I'm called in a line at a food place, and that's fine.
Hey, when you were filling out the bubbles on a standardized test, did you always like punch or punch yourself in the side of the head and be like, Mom and Dad, like, why was my last name Christopherson? I mean, that's a lot of bubbles to fill out.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I think on some of them it would run out, and I was just Brian Christophers, and so
they wouldn't let you just be Brian C.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. So that probably explains why they mailed me some lower test scores. I probably actually scored higher, but they had the wrong name. That's
where you're laying your head.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, somebody that doesn't have an issue with standardized test, bubbling, I guess filling out his last name, is Kyle McCord. And that name has recently emerged as possibly the new Husker favorite in the portal. BC, would you agree with that?
I don't know yet. Maybe. I think that there's interest from both sides at this point, but Kyle McCord is someone who probably has a few parties after him. So you got to keep that in mind. But definitely, why would you not kick the tires on that one? He played it in one of the most high-profile positions in college sports this last year. Let's be honest. As Ohio State's quarterback, a lot of pressure. He didn't have a great offensive line for Ohio State standards. Make that clear. That's what their writers will tell you. Not their best O-line that they've had, and he worked behind that and had pretty good numbers, as you would expect, with the weapons around him and the team as they are. And he's kind of, as one of the writers said up there to us, sort of the scapegoat for the Michigan game, because somebody's got to be to blame. So it's Ryan Day and him, I guess. I wouldn't. Having watched that one from start to finish, as you guys probably did, I wouldn't say that. I just think he's a guy who has been through the battles and could stand up tall and answer the questions around here and deal with being in this bubble, because he's already done it times 5 probably at Ohio State. So I like that one, but I like some of the other guys they visited too. I mean, I think Levitt's an interesting young player who can move around really well. Kept his red shirt on last year. Anybody who interviewed him this week in our little neck of the woods can tell you he's a supremely confident kid in what he can get done. And, obviously Shapen and Will Howard's got a lot of experience. So I think they're going after the right guys, and you just don't know exactly how they rank them.
BC, I'm going to hit you with something here, and I want you to wait before you jump to the answer, because I said this to Connor earlier in the show, and I want to ask you this too, because I think the number one question that this team should be asking first is, who gets you excited to watch Nebraska football next year? Like that has to be number one, at least when you're in terms of talking about quarterbacks. That is the question you have to first answer. Who gets you excited? And then you have to fall into, okay, these are my guys that get me excited. Now who's a fit? Because you brought up Sam Levitt's name. And yes, Sam Levitt's a good player. He's got good mobility. He's got good toughness. But he's not a name that just gets me excited to watch football next year. Like Kyle McCord is a name. DJU is a name. Will Howard is a name. How important do you think it is to first get somebody that gets you excited to watch football next year?
I get your point, Andrew, because right now I do think there's sort of this like, oh, we've been through the same old thing 7 years in a row. I know it was just your first year, but man, we've been doing this dance a long time and we need some jolt into our veins. And a quarterback who's been through it in more of a high profile role probably helps in these next 3 to 4 months, right? Like in how we're talking about the team and all that stuff. I do think even if it's a younger guy like a Levitt, I think over the course of time, when we get to spring, if you have like Levitt and I'm just throwing hypotheticals out here right now, but if you have like Levitt and Purdy, for instance, like battling it out, I think people will look up in intrigue and be like, okay, how far has Purdy come along? I want to learn more about this Levitt guy. So I think as interest will grow as we get to this season, and ultimately it's just going to come down to those first games in, September, when you open up and then you play Colorado the second week. Do you have somebody out there who doesn't turn it over 4 times, and if that person, whatever his name is, if he goes out there and looks solid and has good vision in the passing game, exhibits a little bit more clutch gene than we've seen, that'll immediately have people watching with intrigue all season. So I think your point is one to consider, though. But I still think at the end of the day, it's got to be best fit that you think can win, and that's the end of the story.
So we looked at earlier, 5 of the top 7 QBs in the portal as of this moment remain uncommitted. Looking at names like Cam Ward, DJU, Dylan Gabriel, are there any big names that you've seen in this portal right now that Nebraska has not reached out to that you feel like we should be, trying to get in contact with?
I think like Cam Ward, for instance, I'd knock on his door and see what the situation's like, and make your case. Why not? I think all those guys you mentioned would be possibilities that you would want to look at. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We've sort of been keeping it to the guys we think they've talked to or are going to. But yeah, I think it should be like you're looking at every angle down every alleyway for quarterbacks, and that's not just those high profile guys you're talking about. I'm talking about, like, is there somebody in FCS that you think has the special stuff, that could be considered here? So all that should be on the table to me. I do think the 4 names that have been mentioned the most are legitimate candidates right now. And so I probably operate, it's a great question you asked, but I think operate more just from the reporter angle of who do I think is in the running right now? What's the information we have that makes this person valid for the conversation? But certainly if any of those guys popped in the radar in the next day or so and you start to hear their name, people are going to lose their minds around here. And that would answer Andrew's question previously. If you had Cam Ward walking up,
gets the people
I'd
going.
be cool with it, man. I'd be cool
to do a spring press conference. I think people will be kind of fired up.
And now, BC, I was talking with one of our listeners yesterday, and it had me thinking about this question because I have seen people on both sides of the fence here. You look at what the Huskers have on their roster, and then you peek inside the portal outside of the quarterback position, specifically at the linebacker spot, because you lose Reimer and you lose Henrich. Do you think it's necessary for the Huskers to make moves away from that quarterback spot with the young talent that's emerging in position groups that saw some turnover, like the linebacker spot? Because you see Kane Williams a little bit this season. Dylan Rogers was a 2023 commit. Eric Fields is that unknown he's kind of the guy that everybody can't wait to see. All got crazy good reviews from the staff this offseason, and they couldn't stop talking about the depth that they had. So back to the question, do you think it's necessary to make a move to fill that spot now, or do you just trust what the young guys have?
I think it's possible to make a move there. The positions I've always named off are quarterback, a wide receiver, if you could add a veteran wide receiver to the crew. Running back, although I think, Rule said they want to get a running back, but that could be a recruit still. Maybe they got someone, kind of hidden now that they're thinking about. And on that end, running back is a spot, I do believe, real quick, where you can go into the high school ranks. And while it didn't happen last year with Quinton Ives, you can sometimes find somebody who their first year can help you out, at that position, it seems like. I don't know why, although some people would push back on that, say there's so much to process with the pass blocking now and all that. But I do think running back could come from either spot. But linebacker, I would agree with you. It wouldn't be horrible by any means to have a veteran guy who has a proven resume. If you feel like he really fits and would, gels with your staff and would fit into what Tony White wants to do, that you could put out there, because that is going to be a question to answer for them in the offseason. I think Mekhi Bayer is a guy who's you're going to see his role just increase as he goes through this program, and he'll probably have even more snaps next year. But yeah, that's the one defensive position I really look at as a spot that could be a portal possibility.
So when you mention looking for a nice transfer running back, do you think getting a Will Howard, do you think Trayshawn Ward would be interested in joining him at Nebraska as well? Do you think that could be used as kind of a recruiting pitch?
But you never know. Sometimes that does have. We saw last year, right? I mean, with certain schools where there's like 2 or 3 guys come from one program, and I don't know it was all because this guy went, I'm going too. It might have just worked out that that's where the connections were, especially with Georgia last year, and they had one with Florida. But I think that always helps. We see it in recruiting sometimes where a teammate will follow, and so could be a possibility there. Running back, they need one more guy, though. I don't like whoever that is, whether it's portal guy or recruit guy. I really feel like you need to bolster what you have, because I really hope Ramir and Gabe track all the way back. Those guys have been through it in their careers, and we never have really gotten the chance to see what Gabe Irvin can fully do, which is unfortunate. So I hope we get that opportunity. But am I nervous about it a little bit just because of the severity of both injuries? And you're both, there's a lot riding on them being healthy. Yeah. And that's why, I liked what Emmett did, but they got to find someone really special at that running back. You guys can remember back when Amir was here and you had that back who there were certain games where I would write stories where, the O-line played really well, like against Miami in 2014. Go watch that game back and see like 130 yards or Amir Abdullah just being special. And I think we can't lose sight of what that can mean to have a running back like that. If you can find them, which everybody's trying to find, because it's not easy to find that separator at that position, but man, it would make a big difference.
BC, going back to my previous point, because I'm actually on the side of the fence that I don't think it's necessary, defensively especially, to get somebody out of the portal to maybe have a young guy in instead who has been getting some good reviews from the staff in the offseason. My question to you is this, and I know it's way too early to really be asking this question, but I think it's fun to at least think about right now. Who's your pick from the 2023 class to have a breakout 2025 campaign?
25
just next
20,
season.
Yeah, 24 into 25.
to 25.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
that's all right.
Let's save a year.
Okay. I'll say I think Dwight Boodle, when he gets healthy, is going to have a say in the back end. I think they really like him. Dylan Rogers comes up every flipping time.
I'm
Rule
telling
talks
you,
about
great last name.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, Dylan Rogers is definitely going to be a guy to watch. I think I still kind of gravitate toward that defensive line. They got so many young, good guys that I really like. We saw Van Poppel, so I don't know if that counts. Maybe that's cheating. I think Van Poppel is going to be a dude next year. Like, I'm not like all conference dude, but I just think he's going to be really good. He's going to take snaps away from people, and he's going to elevate and be that kind of player. So those are the guys that pop up to me. And then the ones we've already seen, like, protect what's yours. This is why it's, Rule said you got to value your own roster. You especially got to do that with a guy like Prince Will. You get, like, I'm not saying anything's happening there, but you've heard Rule talk about in this day and age, there's people trying to get into what's yours and all that stuff. You better make sure those guys, you know how much they're appreciated and how much they matter around here too. And I think that's going to be easy in this December because this is not going to be a crazy portal off season. The numbers are such that they can only take, like, honestly 3 to 4 guys probably. And so most of the guys on the roster understand, like, it is on me to develop, and they're trusting me to do that. And so I think that's going to help keep some of the vultures away, I guess.
So how does the return of Nash Hutmacher and Ty Robinson, how does that bolster that development for some of these young guys that you've just mentioned? How important is that veteran leadership?
Oh, I mean, it's so large. Like, in football to have those 2 big dudes on the D line, it just changes everything for your defensive scheme and how you can operate. I mean, Ty, I really do understand what they're saying, where when it was explained why he was coming back, it was said, he didn't get the full off season last year. And if you watched him play, he did gain speed, right? I mean, you saw, like, in the last half of the season, he was a different guy even in the first half. He was starting to pop up and just make more of those just game-changing plays we've always wanted from him. And so I think there's a belief that's just the start of that, and let's just feed that for one more year and see where you get picked. But yeah, those guys are going to set the tone for this is how we do things around here, and it's going to be a high bar that other guys are going to want to reach. And the good thing is they've got really mature freshmen or were freshmen in that room that I think want to learn. Like, I feel like Cam Lenhart's a guy who he's smart. He immediately buddied up to the old guys, and he's thought of as an old guy already. So I think that's going to work out very well for them. And then, there's Jamari Butler, like, basically in that same room now. He plays D-line more than anything. And guys who have paid their dues, and they can also probably preach a little bit of patience to some of these guys, which is good too. Because Jamari Butler, who was actually in the portal for 24 hours last year, if people remember, is like the perfect guy for anybody that's considering anything to have a conversation with.
BC, can I ask you something about the Creighton, Nebraska basketball game this past weekend?
If we must, yes.
Because I kept hearing this may be one of those games you don't look at to revisit mistakes, just toss it out, that it's not worth the time. Now, to some degree, I agree with that logic. You just have to admit things could have just not gone your way that night. But the game plan was good. So, yeah, toss it out the window. But did you see it that way? Or did the game have you walking away saying, yeah, that was a tough loss, but here's what we learned?
I walked away feeling like the last games, the 2 or 3 games before it, where I thought the defensive edge that they were looking to establish was still floating in the air and not grabbed yet. And I understand Creighton can make a lot of teams look like they're playing bad defensively because they hit shots, and they did hit some tough shots. I thought at times Nebraska gave Shireman, made it way too easy for him, when he got in a rhythm, especially in the first half. And so I think there's some things you would want to revisit there. It wasn't a game that set off alarm bells to me, like, oh, these guys stink or whatever, like let's just move on. And there is some of that unfortunately goes. I said it that way because you guys know that there's the casual fan who they're like, oh, I hear Nebraska's 7-0. I'll check it out, and so it's Nebraska Creighton, and this is the game and it's kind of viewed in that same prism as football, right? Where it's like there's so much on this one game, and then it doesn't go well, and there's an overreaction to it. And I think that's really when you hear the stuff you're hearing this week as they get ready for Minnesota tonight, which I'm about to get in the car and go to. I feel like that's the point is, like, guys, it was a bad day. They're a great team. We know it. They could be an Elite Eight team again or something like that. We got to go handle our business Wednesday. Let's put our attention right there. And if Nebraska wins tonight, and it's a big one, there'll be a jolt back in the step. There will, because they'll be 1-0 in the league, and people will be like, okay, Creighton's really good. We got it. They smoked them this year, but they'll be 1-0, and then Michigan State's coming Sunday. That's going to be a tough one, man. Michigan State just lost to Wisconsin, and they're 4-4, and I know how Izzo's teams are like after that. So that's not a great setup for Nebraska. They need this one big time tonight.
One more thing here, as you mentioned, you're going up to Minnesota. What do you think is if you could give your keys to the game, what would be your 3 keys for Nebraska to get that win?
They got to get back first off on the glass again, where they early on they were just, they're playing lesser teams, but it's like not even a contest. And the last few games, it's been tough rebounding. They lost by 11 to Creighton in that statistic too. So this is going to be maybe of a fair fight tonight, and they got to win. They got to win the boards fight, the 50-50 balls. They're going to have somebody besides Casey hit from the outside. Like CJ Wilcher, when he pops in, I don't think he's their best defensive guy. He's got to bring it on the offensive end. He's got to hit 3 shots, those big shots that when you need them. Rink Mass is going to have a better game shooting it. After the game, McDermott said an interesting thing. He said they shot, they got a lot of threes up. He's speaking of Nebraska, but they were the guys we wanted taking them, shooting them. And if you look at the stat sheet, Alex shoots like 4 or 5.
Right.
Mass shoots 5. I think Hoiberg believes Mass can hit those shots, but Rink's got to be a pretty good 3-point shooter, and it's got to come out in games like this where he hits at least 1 or 2 that keeps him honest. So that's going to be a big deal too.
Well, also you have to think, how many games is Nebraska going to play this year against a team that shoots as much as Creighton does? Maybe never until the end of the year.
Creighton is really good. I mean, they are. They are.
Well, they're good when they make their shots. When they miss.
Well,
they
had a game like Nebraska, against Colorado State. They had that game. That was the game they had against Colorado State where they lost by 21. Was just like Nebraska last year. As McDermott said, they shot 43s last year. They only hit 10, and they couldn't, throw in the ocean from the beach in that game. So once in a while they'll have a bad day at the office, but they're better defensively this year. That's what makes them tough.
They're strong.
So, yeah.
BC, really appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much. Safe trip.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
It's Brian Christopherson, senior writer at Husker 24/7. Always appreciate his time on a Wednesday. Okay, when we come back, we will talk to a local guy here in town. Here in Omaha, I should say, because BC's up in Lincoln. Talk to Andy Kendeigh over at KETV. He is the sports director. We do it every other Wednesday. We flip-flop him and the sports director up in Lincoln. Andy Kendeigh, AK, coming your way next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio as we fight to get Andy Kendeigh onto the show with us. I'll take a moment and tell you about Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's is your one-stop shop for all your car needs. They work on all makes and models from Fords to Teslas, 4 great locations. I'm currently set up at the Dingman's location in Papillion to get my back end repaired. No, I mean my car, Connor.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you smiled. I saw
I
you.
smiled. I'm just a happy person.
I'm talking about the bumper on my car. Get your head out of the gutter over there. But Dingman's Collision Center is taking care of me. A lot of damage, but they set me up quick. I was in their system in less than 20 minutes. They did their estimate, which is free. I scheduled my estimate over in 20 minutes time. I was in and out, lickety split. They got me on the road, and because my car is still drivable, but they were even willing to work with me to get a rental car in that moment if I had to leave my car. I mean, that's just the type of people that you work with over at Dingman's Collision Center. They also have a pretty sweet give back program, which I can't wait to be a part of, like selfishly, because Dingman's has groups that they support, and after each business transaction, the person, the consumer, the customer is the one that gets to choose what different nonprofit that you want to support to.
Very cool.
So they have different ones out there. And I think the Give Back program is kind of like the coolest feature any business can do. But that just goes to show how community-oriented Dingman's Collision Center is. Give Dingman's Collision Center a call if you have trouble with your car, or just go visit one of their 4 great locations. They'll get you hooked up. That's dingmans.com. Do we have AK, Shane?
Andy is here.
All right, let's bring him on. Andy Kendeigh, sports director over at KETV. AK, good morning.
Morning, boys. I have turned off my ringer and no Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer this morning. We're good.
Shane, did you fill him in, or were you listening earlier?
I did not fill him in.
Do you just have to say this now on every media request? Like, you're just like, hey, guys, don't worry, my phone is off.
Well, I was telling my daughter the other day, I've been in this biz for about 30 years, and I've gotten more response from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I've been known, I've covered some good stuff, covered Super Bowls, playoff games, what have you, college bowl games, Rose Bowls, what have you. And I'm now known as the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer guy. So that's good.
There are worse things to be known for.
Yeah, and quite frankly, man, you have to go viral in some way, shape, or form. This is the best way to do it, right?
Oh, no question. No question. I mean, and it's just one of those moments that you wish you had, you wish you had back. You wish you wouldn't have checked your text during the news conference, which activated your phone, which activated the last thing you were playing on your XM Sirius satellite radio when you're driving into Lincoln, and that happened to be Burl Ives. I mean, who doesn't listen to Burl Ives on the way to a season-ending Matt Rule news conference?
Man, I got to tell you, just like it made Matt Rule's day, that made my day, knowing that it was you. Like, out of all people, it was you. And you know what's a phone call here. What's even funnier about it is I joked earlier on in the show and said I was going to pull up Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and just play it during one of your responses. And that's why I thought Shane told you, because you led with that. I'm like, no, he ruined it.
Well, here's the thing, fellas. It's a rookie mistake, right? I mean, this is week 1 material to have your phone turned off. Don't mess with your phone during a news conference. Just suck it up. And I am front and center. One, because I've got to. Sometimes Matt Rule talks really fast and sometimes really soft, and I got to listen to his responses. So I'm front and center. I'm the closest guy to him, and of course, so the phone even picked up on the microphone even more. So one of those days. It's a shake your head moment. My kids loved it. Obviously it's not on purpose, but you live and learn, right? You learn something new every day in this business, boys.
Well, AK, let's get into sports now and talk about the previous weekend. It was the opening weekend of high school basketball, some jamborees around the area. What were your first impressions of everything happening?
Well, for high school hoops, Amari Bynum, the kid from
really
Ryan,
good,
pretty darn good. Yeah. They're gonna be tough. That's one of the teams that kind of stood out for me. I was at the OPS Jamboree final, but Westview. It'd be good on Westview to have 2 teams in the final. The boys and the girls both made the final. So that's a interesting program, and people have to remember that they're still playing with no seniors. So that's the tip of the hat to the folks over at Omaha Westview. But Britt Prince is going to be appointment viewing. If you haven't seen her in person, go see her. She's fantastic. She's going for a 4th straight state title. She was the focus point for
Is that good?
On the opening week. Yeah, I guess. You can't do any. As Florida State says, you can't do any better than win them all. And every year of their school's existence, Elkhorn North has won a state championship, and they're going for 4 in a row. So, but for us now, we've really pivoted hard for the volleyball tournament. Watching that opening weekend was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Creighton get through was really cool, and seeing Nebraska, I wouldn't say struggle, but just not playing up to their normal dominant standard on opening night, and then bouncing back and really playing well on day 2. It's going to be a fascinating second weekend starting tomorrow in both Lincoln and Pittsburgh. So that's going to be something that we're going to really keep an eye on.
Well, stay right there for me because as we know, Nebraska is a volleyball state, and through this year that was proven true with Omaha being in the tournament as well. You have Wayne State and Wayne State in particular doing some work in D2. Is Kearney there too? Am I right when I say that?
Actually.
Yeah.
Kearney was there, but Wayne State actually knocked them out, I believe, in the second round.
Right. So, I mean, but it just goes to show how prominent the sport of volleyball is here in the state, but in particular here in the Division I bracket. You have Nebraska against Georgia Tech. That should be, I don't want to say should be W's at this point, but Nebraska should pretty
take care of business.
Yeah, they should take care of business. Let's just put it that way.
You would think anything can happen, as you boys know, but you would think that that would be a match that Nebraska could step up and handle. But they're still 2 wins away from the Final Four. I think that's the baseline of expectations for Husker fans. I know Husker fans want to win it all, of course, but I think anything less than a Final Four would be a disappointment. And quite honestly, anything less than a final, probably most fans would say, no. Anything less than a national championship would be somewhat disappointing for Nebraska volleyball. And I think they would welcome that. I mean, that's the expectation in Lincoln, John Cook has said. And they don't shy away from that. They're not afraid of talking about that. And the beauty of that is, the roster is so darn young. It's just amazing to see what they've built in such a short amount of time. And on the other side of things, with Creighton playing Louisville, that's a fascinating matchup. Louisville, is turning into a perennial power. They're one of the top 10 teams, volleyball teams, if not top 5 in the country. And Creighton has a real chance. When Creighton plays well, they're as good as anybody in the country. And with Norsis back, they're on an incredible win streak. Not just winning matches, but dominating them. And we actually sent Matt Tilly, our news sports guy, out to Pittsburgh to cover that. So we're going to hear from Matt tonight on KETV 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. You name the show, he'll be in it. And it's a nice indoctrination for Matt in terms of just how big of a deal volleyball is around here. But cool that our people, our higher ups at KETV, thought enough about the importance of volleyball in the state to not cover Nebraska, but also Creighton. And you mentioned Wayne State. So Tilly texted me yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, Wayne State's in the airport with me at Epley." And I'm like, "Yeah, there you go." So he talked to Wayne State, so we got a little Wayne State love yesterday. So that was kind of cool. They were on the same kind of flight path to Pittsburgh because they're only playing like 20 minutes down the road from Creighton. And they're playing, unfortunately, at the same time, but it's kind of neat that both schools from Nebraska are playing within like a 20-minute drive of each other.
Yeah, not too shabby, right? And for you, this is a great time of year because there's still a lot to cover.
Oh my goodness, we have our plate is full, which is wonderful, and you only take one match at a time, but we have peeked ahead in the schedule. That's for the players. The players take it one match at a time. But we in the media, as you know, we look ahead and we plan. And we say, man, if the Final Four is in Tampa, when will we have to leave? Where will hotels be? How are the flights? So we haven't booked flights just yet, but let's just say we have our hotels set just in case.
Hey, maybe you can hop on the same private jet as Taylor Swift. I heard she's really into volleyball.
Sounds good to me. We'll take a little plane ride together. That'd be fun.
All right. Hey, Kay, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much. And we'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, boys. Be good.
Andy Kendeigh, KETV Sports Director. Lots of good stuff there. And we'll continue a little bit of volleyball talk with Anna Bellinghausen in the 9 o'clock hour as well. Okay, we'll take a short break. When we come back, more Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590, ESPN Tri-Cities, and the ESPN app.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
All right, welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Andrew Rogers, Connor Kavulak, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We appreciate everybody's involvement, whether it's on the YouTube chat line. You can do that on Hurrdat Sports YouTube page. You can give us a call, 888-638-4876 on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. We are on ESPN 590, ESPN Tri-Cities. You can catch us on the ESPN app as well. Hit us up on Twitter at Andrew Rogers CC.
And at EasyC. It's EAZYY_C.
Yeah, see?
I made that in high school.
No, really?
Yeah, I thought it was very cool.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of sticking with it at this point. No, but I'm sticking with it. I stick to my guns.
I'll tell you what isn't cool. All the injuries happening across the NFL. And, you know, it's been hurting my fantasy teams from like week one. It's been hurting who just showed up, Anna Bellinghausen's ego, watching her MVP candidate, her way too early MVP candidate quarterback go down. I believe she owes the whole Hurrdat Sports team lunch. I don't think that it was just something I made up at the time. I think that was instilled. We'll have to go back through our own message board to figure that out. But also, the injury bug has hit a recent quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who his update came out, high ankle sprain. You had mentioned that it'll only be like maybe a week or two off. And yes, quarterbacks play through some some pretty tough injuries, and they're highly protected. So he could probably get away with it, but it does limit his mobility going forward. But high ankle sprains are like 4-week injuries. Like, if we're really being honest, like, you need to sit out for 4 weeks to like recover from something like that.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey was the king of getting high ankle sprains, and he was out for 4+ weeks.
Exactly.
Always. Now, yes, his job is more demanding and more reliant on having
a healthy ankle.
His ankles to be healthy. Like, that's why I could never be a running back. I have the ankles of a baby bird. Maybe it's also the size,
that could
genetics and things like that.
I've got no room to talk. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I wish I looked like Christian McCaffrey. But all in all, going back to what I was going to say about a quarterback, I heard something pretty interesting yesterday, and I was like, at first I was shaking my head like in total disbelief. And then I was like, well, maybe. And then I'm like, no, I just can't get on that train. And it was somebody saying that the Eagles right now should sit Jalen Hurts and start Marcus Mariota because of the position they're in the playoff hunt right now, so that Jalen Hurts can rest up so he can be fully healthy. And I just don't think a healthy Mariota is better than a relatively hurt Jalen Hurts.
I would take a very hurt Jalen Hurts over a healthy Marcus Mariota. That's just an insane thing to say to me. I'm looking his best last year at the Falcons. He had a 61% completion rate, and the year prior at the Raiders, he was a 50% quarterback. Like, unless you are going to entirely dive into the run game and just don't put that ball in his hands, I don't know why you would even be considering Marcus Mariota at the moment.
Well, and like, let's be frank. Like, yes, Jalen Hurts has been dealing with injuries, but it hasn't been slowing his performance. They didn't have a very good showing against the 49ers. I think everybody can all agree with that. But they were able to come away with a win over Buffalo. They had the 21-17 win over Kansas City and a 28-23 win over Dallas 3 weeks before that. Like, those 3 teams right there. The Bills, maybe not so much this season, but they were projected to be an AFC championship contender. Those 3 teams right there are playoff teams.
Absolutely.
Kansas City is most likely going to be your representative out of the AFC.
You would think.
Most likely.
Out of the entire AFC or out of the AFC West?
I think out of the AFC.
I don't know. What Tyreek Hill is doing down in Miami is just absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, but is Tyreek Hill the one that can win you a football game? I mean, somebody's got to throw it to him. And if somebody can defend Tyreek Hill, and it's a big if.
It's a big if.
But Tua's still got to get him the football.
I agree.
Tyreek can't do it all himself. Now, Patrick Mahomes is a guy that can do it all himself. So he has the leg up in this conversation. I just don't know how real the Dolphins are once they get to the playoffs. I mean, even before the playoffs. I mean, we've seen stints of the Dolphins this season that's like, huh? Like, you guys should be much better than what I just saw. Tyreek Hill, last game had 3 catches, had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I think it was like 3 for 135 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane the numbers that he can throw up there. But Tyreek Hill isn't somebody that decides if you're winning or losing a game. Like, somebody's got to get him the football.
Well, and I agree with that. But you also talk about, Patrick Mahomes is a man that can do it all. And when we talk about that passing game, everyone is obviously going to bring up that same name in Travis Kelce as that number 1 receiving target. Mm-hmm. But an interesting stat that I saw actually this last night was since week 8, Taysom Hill is a better tight end than Travis Kelce. Taysom Hill is averaging more points than Travis Kelce since week 8. We're seeing that Chiefs
more
offense.
More points in fantasy?
More points in fantasy. He's getting more catches and more yards. Kelce's still getting those kind of short touchdowns here and there, but Taysom Hill is still putting up some very, very decent numbers. Kelce's slowing down. That Chiefs offense, we are seeing kind of struggling in the last couple of weeks.
Well, Taysom Hill is used differently.
He's a very gadget player. I understand that.
Like, Taysom Hill can throw, and I think he at least has 1 or 2 passing touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
They use him kind of like a fullback when they get into the if they're on the 1 yard line, Taysom Hill's in. If they're on the 5 yard line, Taysom Hill is in. Taysom Hill, yes, has caught some balls too out of the tight end position, but Travis Kelce can't do any of that. Like, when you have a guy like Mahomes, you don't need to. Like, the Saints are using Taysom Hill because they have Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is
no, they don't.
Yeah, well,
not anymore.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Derek Carr's brutal.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, Carr's had a rough season, but it's not the worst season I've seen, especially when you look at who's going to be coming in to fill in.
Derek
for
Carr's
him.
bad, man.
I mean, you're going to have Jameis Winston coming in next. Would you prefer Jameis Winston over Derek Carr?
Derek Carr's had
now, yeah, absolutely.
Derek Carr's had a lot of bad seasons.
Jameis Winston can only match what Derek Carr has been doing.
You're talking to the 30-30-30 man.
I don't care who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Derek Carr may throw for 300 yards. How many of those are passing touchdowns? He could throw for 300 yards and not even throw a score.
Does that come down to receivers not getting yards after catch? Does it come down to what does that come down to?
It comes down to not winning football games. Derek Carr's not a guy that's winning you football games. Jameis Winston, he could come in and not win football games too and match the same success as Derek Carr.
Derek Carr always feels like he needs to make something out of nothing. And Derek Carr can do that.
Shane knows
Derek
more than
Carr
anybody.
can do that. He can do that sometimes, but 8 out of 10 times he doesn't do it.
Are you a Raiders or a Saints fan?
I'm a Raiders fan.
Oh, so you've been through this pain.
I've been through this pain. 8 out of 10 times when he's trying to make something out of nothing, it doesn't work.
Big Aiden O'Connell guy over there, right, Shane?
Well, I mean, maybe.
He's just a huge Purdue fan, right?
Yeah.
Right, Shane?
No.
Hey, Omar, right?
Yeah.
Big Omar Brown fan.
I do love me some Omar.
But all in all, the Eagles are in fine position right now to keep riding Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts will either play the rest of this season because he's not going to sit. They're not going to put Mariota in.
No.
Jalen Hurts will either play this season if he's at 80% right now. I don't know what he is, but let's just say he is for this example. He'll play at 80% the rest of the way. If he gets healthier along the way, great. If he gets, tweaked, if the injury tweaks and he goes down to 75, maybe 70%, he'll still play. He will still be the quarterback of that team. There is not a point in time this season, unless he is experiencing a high ankle sprain, a torn something or other, and I'm not going to wish anything else.
No.
Because we know how quickly the injury bug is like, oh, hey, yeah, we'll just attach myself to you.
Speak it into existence.
Jalen Hurts will be on that football field.
Well, another reason that they won't even consider sitting Jalen Hurts, they're only one game ahead of the Cowboys, and they've got the Cowboys this week. If you lose that game, the Cowboys offense has massively outscored the Eagles offense. You're going to lose the top of that division. So at least this week, it would not even be a thought in my mind that Jalen Hurts is going anywhere.
As you look at the NFL playoff picture, you said you like the Dolphins out of the AFC entirely?
I think they're a team to look at. I don't think that it's really tough to look at any of these teams right now and be for certain what's going to happen. Those Colts are really climbing that board. That is a joke. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Dolphins are probably my AFC favorite as of this moment.
See, you just can't ever get me to bet against Mahomes.
I'm not betting against Mahomes. Fantastic QBs, generational. But as of this moment, watching that Chiefs offense, watching the Miami offense explode, it's tough for me to discount what's happening down in Miami.
Once you get to the playoffs, that's where Mahomes
lives.
He thrives. He eats in the playoffs. He eats little dolphins for breakfast in the playoffs.
That's
actually
like
in the
crime.
regular season too.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's a crime. Try locking him up. He'll evade you. He'll evade you like he does on the football field.
So you've got the Chiefs coming out of the AFC.
They just find ways to win football games.
Who do you got coming out of the NFC?
The 49ers.
I think you're crazy to say otherwise. I think you're crazy to say otherwise.
When they're at their best, they're at their best. And we saw them at their worst earlier on this season.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were moments before that bye week that were like, they went from 5-0 to 5-3. That was pretty shaky. But then they won a week on their bye week. People say that like with Nebraska.
They're
like, hey, we just won our bye week. Like, we got to win this week. And when it was actually their bye week, they actually won because they got Chase Young on their bye week.
Which is incredible. What an addition.
For a third-round pick. So if there was any team that showed how to win a bye week, it was the 49ers. And all they've been doing since that bye week is what?
Winning.
They are 9-3. They are my representative right now. Little NFL picture for you there. That was kind of an impromptu segment. Okay, when we come back, Anna Bellinghausen joins the show. She's digital director at Hurrdat Sports. Can't believe I got that right. She just gave me
Look
that.
at you.
Hurrdat Sports Radio coming your way next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Hey, top of the hour here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Happy to have you with us. Happy to see everybody chiming in on the Hurrdat Sports YouTube chat, the chat room. Connor Kavulak, Andrew Rogers, and a Bellinghausen here for the final hour of the show. We appreciate having her here. Before we go any further, let's take a moment and tell you about another great sponsor of the show. and that is Alumni Hall, which is actually the spot where I got this hat from, if anybody was
People love
wondering.
your hat, by the way.
Yeah, I get a lot of
You
comments.
get comments.
On it.
People want your hat.
You know what? You know where you can find it? Alumni Hall.
Oh, no kidding.
It's Connor's.
What a
typing away.
Typing away
Well, while you
furiously.
do that, when you are making your Christmas list, when you're writing your letter to Santa, because maybe Santa brings you the hat this year, Connor, make sure to mention to go to Alumni Hall. Make it easy on Santa. Just go to Alumni Hall to find it. It's your one-stop shop to get all things Huskers, gifts for him, gifts for her, the kids, and the dog even, which I actually did order a dog toy the other day from Alumni Hall. It is a Husker toy. So Molly will be a Husker fan here soon. She hasn't been showing her bias to any team, but I'll get her a dog toy, although I won't show anybody the remnants of that dog toy because let's just say people will be like, yeah, she's not a Husker fan. They also have some nice polo shirts. 2 great stores in Lincoln, one downtown on P Street, the other in the South Point Pavilions. If you like to shop from your couch, shop online at alumnihall.com. 20% off your Alumni Hall purchase with code UNLHoliday this week. All one word, no spaces, 20% off UNLHoliday. Get your shopping done. Head to Alumni Hall. Use that code UNLHOLIDAY to save some money on all your Huskers gear and gifts. AB, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You've been everywhere.
I have been.
I've been everywhere. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was nice.
You didn't think I had that.
Really
that
nice.
range.
Is that called a vibrato?
Vibrato?
What?
Vibrato? Something like that. Something like that.
What's it called? Vibrato? Is that it?
I don't know.
Bravado?
What is it?
Bravado?
Vibrato?
Like you have good vibrato?
Yeah, that's
Bravado,
what it is.
I mean.
Yeah, it's
I
So
don't know.
you're really messing me up this morning
Vibrato?
already. And you've already brought up Kirk Cousins.
No, I'm
this
just having
morning.
some fun. Come
No,
on.
we're right. I had to go to
show
Google.
everybody your hat. Not from Alumni Hall, but we're having some fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Smile.
Yeah.
That is a solid hat.
Thank you.
It's a Shane
I'm a
hat,
fan.
is
Yeah.
what it is.
He would wear this?
Yes, I could see Shane
Really?
walking in with that hat on.
Okay.
What do you think, Shane?
Oh, come on, Shane.
Yeah, pot it up a little bit more.
Why the is Shane walking in there?
With that
AB,
hat on.
Let's get into let's start here because we can talk a little Creighton basketball in a moment, but you've been covering the first and second round of volleyball specifically for Creighton.
Yes.
Correct. I mean, just what a moment for Coach Booth and this team. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like that was a very positive sigh.
Yes.
Kind of like a sigh of like relief.
It is.
Because Creighton has worked so hard for so long and just really hasn't been blessed with the moment. But now they finally are getting their opportunity. Just how special is it to see them go on this run?
I'm so happy for them because this year was the 5th time they've hosted in a row and haven't made it out of Omaha. They've lost in the first or second round, and last year it was a heartbreaker to a really good Auburn team, a really young Auburn team they really didn't think they'd lose to, especially. And so many high hopes last year were just crushed. And unfortunately, there'd been so much heartbreak at DJ Sokol Arena for this team that finally to realize, okay, we're not cursed, guys. You know, we just hadn't had the greatest hand dealt to them. It was a lot of injuries that had happened for some reason, always in the postseason to Creighton that did not help them out. But this year, everyone was healthy, knock on wood, and everyone played their part, did their role, and I think they were just more ready for this moment than ever. And I mean, talking to Coach Booth and Kendra Wade afterwards on the broadcast, they were emotional, right? Like Coach Booth was almost in tears. I've never seen her near tears ever.
Yeah, because she's so dialed in.
Right. She's always, dialed in, like you said, very focused. And she was just like, I never get emotional, but this moment means so much. To do it in front of our fans. So they had won the second round going to the Sweet 16. They upset Kansas 7 years ago. And Rob Anderson had posted that video that morning before their second round game in Omaha just this last weekend. And she's like, I just watched that video and thought like we need to do it in front of our fans, and I'm really happy for them. And they've got some good matchups coming up. I think Louisville's a good one for them, and I could really see them going far.
So with the heartbreak last year and the run they're on, like you said, they've got Louisville up next.
Mhm.
Have you seen a massive shift in attitude year over year? Are they more fired up? Or did they have this attitude last year and they just couldn't quite get where they needed to be?
That adversity has to show.
Yes. Well, last year, the toughest part was they lost Kendra Waite right before the first round. And Kendra Waite's their setter and basically the quarterback of their team. She literally sets up everything for them and is the heartbeat of the team. She's one of the best setters in the entire country. To lose her basically unexpectedly and not have much of a plan or time to plan to replace her, that was super tough last year and was probably a big part of why they couldn't get it done in the first round. But then you come back this year and Kendra Waite comes in with a chip on her shoulder because she didn't get to play last year, right? She had to watch her team lose that first round at home, and that has to be awful to watch. And I remember seeing the tears last year and everything like that. And I spoke with Ava Martin, who was a freshman on last year's team, obviously a sophomore now, and that was the first thing she brought up. She's like, I still think about that moment and I cringe, and it makes me so upset because you never want to lose first round on your home court in a year that they're ranked top 20 and supposed to go on a large run there in the NCAA tournament. So yeah, it puts a fire under you and it makes you want to just say, okay, enough's enough. And that's the message I got from a lot of the girls when I talked to them before the tournament, is just like, we are so ready for this moment because we know what defeat feels like, and we felt it multiple times, especially if you're a junior or a senior on this team, that it's like it's over. Like, we're not playing these games anymore. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the court, who's not. Like, we need to show out in front of our fans and get to the Sweet 16 because they've been capable of doing that every single year, right? But volleyball, basketball, football, it's all about matchups, of course, and in that moment. But again, really happy for them.
How much do you think that want will carry them forward the rest of the way? Because you look up and down each team's roster moving forward, and Creighton obviously doesn't have the strongest of the whole field. They're a three for a reason, but they're very talented and they're experienced as well. But that want has to give you like an extra 2 or 3 jolts in the talent department, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in talking to the team afterwards and even listening to the press conferences, they all want to shock the world. None of the experts had picked Creighton out of against Minnesota, and they swept Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And I think that was very telling of the fire that's behind this Creighton team. If they go and sweep a great Minnesota team from the Big Ten, who honestly, in talking to them, they also had a lot of fire and a lot of just want to prove people wrong in their own right, because they come in unranked for the first time. I think it was since 2015, 2017. So they hadn't really been in that position as the underdog, but right. I mean, they're still a Big Ten team, right? You're never really an underdog.
I think that's another reason why Minnesota was favored. In there because they're in the Big Ten,
right?
Like, any team in the Big Ten is gonna. Well, I guess you look at a team in the Big East and they're just like, they're a Big East team, and but Big Ten, we're gonna make sure that
right.
Big Ten, they're based on their strength of schedule and teams that they played. It makes sense that the Big Ten team would win here.
I would never have guessed that Creighton would have swept Minnesota. I thought Minnesota would at least take a set from them, and so just to see them sweep that team, really impressive, and makes me think, okay, this team could go to the Final Four.
Yeah. So, wow.
This team could go to the Final Four.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had Creighton and Nebraska in the Final Four.
All right, write this down. Anna Bellinghausen, Final Four.
That's
Creighton.
terrible handwriting.
Also, Anna Bellinghausen didn't believe in Creighton sweep. Let's write this down. Andrew Rogers believed in Creighton sweep.
You're just taking notes now.
Past Final Four. Okay.
Hey, nobody had Creighton coming out of Omaha, so we're already one step ahead there.
So do you see something, because I have to imagine going into this next round, a lot of experts are going to be picking Louisville over Creighton. Do you think that doubt is going to continue to fuel them and make them work harder and harder every round?
Creighton's going to be 100% the rest of the way.
They will be, and I think that makes it more fun, because in the Big East, when they play the regular season, they have the target on their back the entire time. They are at the top of their league with Marquette, and it's basically let's beat Creighton every single weekend for those teams, and they're giving them their best shot, whether it's St. John's or Xavier, whoever it is playing them. Now they don't have that target on their back. Now it's, okay, we're the underdogs. We come in with a chip on our shoulder. Nobody believed in us. Creighton is so underrated in volleyball. I think they haven't gotten the respect that they've deserved from the entire nation, and I think it was good that they got a number 3 seed too, and they're technically in that top 12, top 15 of the nation, just given that seeding. But I still think there's a lot of respect to be given to Creighton, and I think they want to prove it this year with the team that they have. So absolutely.
All right, let's switch gears and talk Creighton basketball now, because and we can start with the big one of the weekend, Nebraska Creighton. It was funny because we had Sauter on last week, and we were kind of talking about, I don't remember if this was on air or off, what like the betting line was going to get set at.
With arms wide open.
With
arms wide open.
And he had set it at like 3 or 4. I think it was 3 or 4. Maybe he even had it a little bit lower. And I was like, no, it's probably going to be at least 6. And I don't remember what it came in at, but I'm like, gosh, if Creighton like shoots the way Creighton shoots, I can't imagine they don't win by double digits.
Yeah.
Even with like Nebraska's physicality, because they are the more physical team. Not that Creighton isn't a physical team, but like Nebraska bruises you.
Right.
They wear you down. That's how they're going to win games this season. That's how we've seen them win games already. But I'm like, gosh, if Creighton shoots, like there's no better team in the country.
From the arc, I firmly believe they are the best.
There's no better team if Creighton makes their threes. And sure enough, we saw Baylor get hot and stay hot. And I don't think Nebraska did a good enough job closing out. Now, what caused them to, get into some trouble too is they like to pack it inside. You saw Creighton early on try to like get the ball into Kalkbrenner, but couldn't because Nebraska just swarms once the ball gets near the paint. And even Trey Alexander had a hard time finishing, which is why, early on in that game, you could have said like, gosh, having Nembhard could have been nice because Nembhard was so good at getting to the rack
creative,
and finishing and getting there quickly. Not to say that Trey can't do that and he found his rhythm, but it opened up so many holes on the outside, and it wasn't just Shireman making shots. It was Mason Miller at times, cashing threes. Farabella was making his fair share of threes. You had, obviously Alexander, Isaac Trout make a couple of threes. Just in that game, how dominant did Creighton look to you?
After they made their first 3-pointer on, I think it was the very first possession, I was like, this game's over. Because I felt there was so much, not tension's probably not the right word, but just so much built up momentum to this game for Creighton because they had heard everyone speaking about it and how Nebraska portrayed the game and it being the most hyped up game in years. I think they're like, you know what? No, we're going to show how dominant this team can be. We're going to show how we can shoot the 3. And they did it. And it was very apparent that Creighton was the better team on the floor, I would say, for the entire 40 minutes of that game.
So did anything surprise you? Because for me, when watching, I was like, gosh, I was impressed with how Nebraska defensively played in like the first 10 minutes of that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was really impressed with like that look. But did it surprise you that, I'm going to say it took too long? Okay. Just for the nature of the scenario. Did it surprise you that it took 10 minutes for Creighton to really get going in this game? Or do you think because of all of the things leading up to this game, the way it was labeled, that Creighton should have been like quicker to go? Because it was a 5-0 lead, and then it quickly became like 5-5, and then it was like, hey, I'm going to make some points. Okay, now I'm going to make my fair share of points. And no one really pulled away until Shireman started
going off.
Threes.
I think it took a little bit of time to settle in because the environment in Lincoln was awesome. It was loud, it was intense, it was hostile, and I think that alone would have had to help Nebraska in many respects of the physicality, and they were the more physical team for the first 10 minutes of that game. And I would credit the crowd, honestly, to getting that place rocking and making it more of an even matchup. I think the first 10 minutes, I don't think it necessarily surprised me. Creighton's kind of done that and had big second halves most of the year. Colorado State, take that one out of the equation, which is a great team, by the way. I saw somebody.
It's going to age well.
It's going to age well. And somebody, I forget who it was, an analyst said they're in their top 4 right now of teams, which
top 4. I think
top
that might be a
4.
little bit much.
I was like, whoa, what did I just read?
I've also
Yeah.
seen BYU in somebody's top 4.
So BYU is top 4 in net right now, but let's take that for what it is this early in the season.
Okay, but
we are very early in the season.
So it didn't necessarily surprise me, but I think Nebraska, if there's something they can feel good about that game, it's the first 10 minutes and how they matched up.
What about foul trouble early on? Because Creighton got caught with the whistle against them, and they're not a team that fouls too
not at
often.
all.
Do you think that threw them off their game a bit?
For sure. I think that has to kind of throw a wrench in things right away, because then you have to be a little bit more careful, and maybe some of the things that McDermott was going to set up, he couldn't because he didn't want to put his players at risk. And I think they're just like, all right, we have to be more careful.
Yeah, I liked how they found adjustments.
Yeah, you have
or
to
made
adjust to that.
adjustments.
And they're not used to it. They haven't been faced with many foul, times in foul trouble. But the refs were a huge topic of the entire game. So I'm sure you have lots of thoughts, Connor.
Oh, yeah. I'm realizing now it's a terrible day for me to wear a Husker basketball shirt.
No, not at all.
No, I actually, there were a lot of complaints about officiating. Yeah. None from me. For the Huskers, just simply outclassed on the arc. It was not even a question. Got dominated down low, and it felt like they started with an identity but lost it after that first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they were just kind of out there letting Creighton shoot away on them. And I'm looking at, we got Shireman hitting 6 threes. At some point, you got to figure out a way to lock that down. And they
were almost daring him to shoot. I felt like.
Which
I'm like, do not make that guy shoot the ball.
Why would you let him?
Well, it's funny because Casey has such a quick release. Like every time you see him release the basketball, you're just like, wow, how do you defend that? And it's the same with Shireman. Shireman's release is so quick that you have to be on him like glue.
Immediately.
Yes.
Like glue.
Like from anywhere, from the logo.
Casey's at a disadvantage because of his height.
Yeah.
Shireman's what, 6'9"?
Yeah. 6'7"?
6'7". Regardless, he maybe he's 6'9" in high school. The high school program.
He's 6'7".
He's 6'7". Okay.
But Shireman's 6'7". He's not somebody that needs to create space for himself. His space is, I catch the ball, I shoot.
It's over you.
Yeah, and that's another great point.
Yeah.
He shoots from above his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he makes himself shoot from about 6'9".
Exactly.
So all in all, you got to close out better.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to get on those guys quicker. Hard part is you do that. What do you make yourself susceptible to?
There's Ryan Kalkbrenner.
There's Ryan Kalkbrenner right in the middle. It's a hard recipe to kind of complete.
They're a tough team to defend.
Is, defensively.
They're a very tough team to defend.
So Minnesota tonight for Nebraska, big game. As for Creighton, they don't play till the weekend.
Yes,
correct?
Saturday morning, Western Michigan.
Western Central?
Central Michigan, I think.
It's one of the
one of
the
them.
Michigans that isn't state or the cheater. What, should I not have said that?
It's Central Michigan.
Central
There
Michigan.
we go.
What's their mascot?
Central.
Chippers.
The Chippers.
No. Chippewas.
Oh, there we go.
Chippers.
I was like, what is a chipper?
They're the wood chippers.
They're the wood chippers.
Flannel jerseys.
Well,
they have cool colors.
Another point I was going to bring up, because they're not, obviously Nebraska's going into conference play. Creighton is still a little ways away from conference play. They still have a handful of non-con games and some big ones.
Yes,
up.
So they got Central Michigan, UNLV, Alabama, and then they start with Villanova.
Yeah, and that Alabama game will still be big.
Yes, I hate that they dropped out of the top 25.
But it'll still be big.
Yeah, it'll still be,
But as you look across Big East play, and you saw UConn play last night, they comfortably beat UNC, which that's a good UNC team. Also a team that was undervalued coming into this season. And I think they were undervalued because they were so overvalued coming into last season.
A little bit of recency bias on that one.
But maybe Caleb Love is more of there were other things that happened at UNC that made that an issue culture-wise. But removing Caleb Love from that situation was a good thing for that program. It was also a good thing for Caleb Love because he's been doing some pretty nice things at Arizona as well. But as you look across the Big East, you have kind of like the top three. We'll call them the big-headed, the three-headed monster in Creighton, UConn, and Marquette.
Yeah.
If you based on what you've seen out of Creighton this season and knowing what you know about Marquette and UConn, is Creighton still the team for you that wins the Big East championship?
Oh, this is such a tough question because
Creighton on their great nights beat any team, right?
Yeah.
They shoot the ball the way they do better than anybody else. But is that good enough to beat the Marquettes and the UConns of the world?
I mean, if they're on, yes. If everything is clicking and they're shooting 45 to 50% from 3, yes, and higher. But again, Marquette, UConn, all 3 of those teams in Creighton are in the top 10 right now. And it's really at any given night.
Okay, so you have on their best night, Creighton is winning. Say Creighton, if their best night shooting the 3 is 45%, 40%, what would you give their best night? 40%?
Yeah.
I mean, they shoot the ball about 40 times.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
going to be a little bit lower.
It's hard to get above 40.
Yeah, they shot 40 against Nebraska.
Okay, and you would think they shot pretty well,
yeah.
right?
And it was 35%.
So let's just say they shoot, well, we'll say 35% from 3. Do they still beat the UConns and the Marquettes of the world?
I don't know. Again, it's any given night. It depends. If it's in the Big East Championship, obviously that's at Madison Square Garden. You just don't know. It's a kind of a cop-out of an answer, but it's kind of too early to tell because the biggest competition, in my opinion, that Creighton's faced besides Colorado State's Iowa, where we saw Creighton have a pretty good night against Iowa. But if they have a Colorado State day, obviously no. But if you're saying the 3-point percentage
Trey
is
Alexander's
there,
not going 1 for 14 again.
Exactly. Like that's not going to happen again. Man, I still put this team up against UConn and Marquette, but it's very close. I don't know. It's so hard to tell.
Yeah, I think that's a really tough one to answer.
It's hard to answer right now. Yeah.
We haven't seen enough out of Creighton. We haven't seen enough out of UConn or Marquette.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's
we
why I
just don't
asked
know.
the question now, too, because
Right.
I don't want anybody's thought to be swayed by, hey, they played Marquette,
Sure.
they beat Marquette,
Yeah.
so they can beat them again, or they lost to Marquette, so they won't beat them again. I wanted to set it early. I wanted to set the stage really early.
Start taking your notes.
Yeah, because I already wrote down that Anna didn't believe that they would sweep Minnesota, aka Creighton volleyball, but Andrew did on this side of the paper.
Sure.
So I'm just saying I had more faith. Like, what it is, right? I'm not full of it. I've never been.
No.
I don't know. It's so hard to tell. UConn, I think I would put UConn, Creighton, Marquette. I think Marquette's a better matchup for Creighton.
I would agree with
So
that
UConn,
right
your
now.
top team, which is funny because UConn was that team this year that people were like, I don't know. I mean, they lost pieces, and
Right.
I don't see them being as good as they were last year. But shoot, they looked pretty good last night.
They did.
They look good.
Spencer hit some shots, let me tell you. He had a pretty good first half and a pretty good game at that. All right, AB sticking with us through the rest of the hour. We'll take a short break. We will also play a game to close out the show. We would do it with Avery, and now it's Anna's turn.
Let's go.
To play a little game here. Okay, we'll come back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio after the break.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show. 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved, that's the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Connor Kavulak, Andrew Rogers, Anna Bellinghausen here for the final hour of the show. We are live on the Hurrdat Sports YouTube page, and you can get involved and comment on that page as well. We appreciate all the listener interaction. We will revisit some thoughts in this little short segment before we play a little game to close out the show. We'll play a little Shane's World. Connor has not experienced that game. Anna has not experienced that game. So I thought, why not throw them right into the fire? We'll do that to close the show down. And it's one of Shane's favorite games.
Aim low.
He he does not succeed in nearly anything, but this one he has no punishment for. So that's why Shane is like, I'm willing to play this game.
This
all the
game is
time.
loaded with pressure, though. I mean, it's like it just comes to you from the left and to the right, and then you got like a certain amount of time to get things done, and then I just fold.
You're like the chairman, man. Like you make the people mad by not giving the right answer. But no, we're happy to have all of you out there listening, whether you're on 590. We're on ESPN Tri-Cities, ESPN app as well. Just a lot of ways to listen to us. We appreciate you. Okay, a couple of things quickly. Jazz Shelley's triple-double. You guys have both brought that up already today, and we have yet to bring it up on the show. It's pretty good. Like, she's a really good basketball player.
Incredible. And had a very dominant performance, not just from Jazz Shelley last night, but from the whole team.
Yeah, everyone scored.
Everyone.
Well, UNC Wilmington isn't like anything to brag about, but Nebraska women's basketball is. And anytime you put up triple digits, it's an incredible night.
Oh, yeah. Makes you feel real good.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember talking to Jazz Shelley before the season, and it was a big deal that she was coming back to Nebraska. And rather than going back to Australia, I mean, staying away from home that long has to be tough. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to stay. And I think we have a really fun and important story to write this year that we didn't get to last year. So really curious to see how good this women's team is going to be.
Now, in other news, this in just about under an hour ago, Nebraska quarterback Jeff Sims expected to enter the transfer portal.
To the surprise of no one.
I was going to say is not a surprise.
No.
Yeah.
And for Jeff, it's definitely necessary to kind of get out of the situation because the situation really took a toll on him personally.
Yeah. I think it was tough, to have those injuries in the beginning of the season and then have Harburg come in. And Harburg did a couple of different things. And we talked about this a lot. He won games. And he won the locker room. And when he won both of those, he won the fans. And it was really tough for Sims to ever get a legitimate chance in anybody's eye after that. And I think he might have recovered a little bit during the season. And, that's what they gave him his chances. But he did exactly what we'd expected in those same opportunities.
It's just Jeff Sims isn't a very good quarterback.
No.
And I think that's where we just kind of have to leave it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy. This is not a comment on
this. Is all based on his performance of play, and it just wasn't there. Now, granted, I think it's funny how you read on in certain posts and you see, Sims has thrown for 4,700 yards and ran for 1,300 yards. And Connor goes, where are the interceptions? How many interceptions? Why aren't those included in here? Because, there was a reason they're not included.
Yeah.
Because they want to keep those hidden as long as possible so that he can land himself on another team. I'll be interested to see where Jeff Sims ends up. But I thought it'd be funny to guess his career interception numbers. So I'm going to let Connor and Anna do that. I theoretically I could guess too, and then I could look it up, but in an effort to make radio sound good, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look up Jeff Sims so that we have the answer right away. How many interceptions do you think Jeff Sims has in his career?
Is this so just interceptions, not fumbles, just interceptions?
Yeah, is it total turnovers or
total turnovers?
Well, I guess we could do both. I can pull up his career stats and get them both. But right now I have his INT numbers in front of me, and I would have to go to his full splits, and this is going to make it even harder. Thanks, guys.
We want to make you work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, like I said, this makes for bad radio because I could have been prepared, and now you guys are making me look unprepared. So appreciate you both. All right, all I have are the interception numbers in front of me right now, so we'll just go with that.
25, 30.
You can't have two numbers.
Yeah.
We're guessing numbers. It's not a range. Yeah, I'm going to guess 1 to 50.
Why can't I have a range? Price is right. Okay. I'm going to go 31.
31.
All right. I was also going to pick 31, but I feel like that's a cop-out. I know for a fact he threw 6 this season. I know that. So I'm going to go 32.
It's 29.
Oh.
Okay. So you guys both don't win a prize if we're playing prices right.
Yeah.
So 25 to 30 though. I was in the range.
I don't care if you were in the range. You also went over the range at the very end. 29 interceptions. I don't know how appealing that looks to any team out there. I'd be curious what Jeff Sims brings to the table. What a team says yes to him, even if it's in a backup capacity. I'd be curious to know.
I think someone will pick him up.
I think he's probably a great locker room guy. You have to assume. You did see that at Nebraska.
He was a great supporter of Heinrich. And
But Jeff Sims, in his final year of eligibility,
Yeah, you don't want to bring in a locker room guy.
He doesn't want to be just a locker room guy. Maybe he takes a step down to FCS.
It's exactly what I was thinking. Because I don't know many FBS schools that are going to be looking at him.
But Nebraska did.
Salivating. Yeah, that's a good point. But we got to show at Georgia Tech. I think when they brought him into Nebraska, I think the argument was that he was in a bad system and that this isn't who Jeff Sims is. It was a product of where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to Nebraska, and we showed everyone that no, this is who Jeff Sims is.
Yeah, Jeff Sims is just not going to impress at the FBS level. No. He had his opportunity again, and I feel like once you get your second chance and it doesn't hit, you have to figure out, okay, maybe this just isn't for me. And because he's re-entering the transfer portal instead of just saying like, hey, I'm graduating or whatever, has me thinking he has to take a step down to the FCS level. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. I don't think even going down to Division II is that bad for Jeff Sims. Maybe this is an opportunity to go closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Jeff, I want to be closer to family. I want to be closer to friends. I want to still play football. Maybe I just go close to home.
I think it tells a lot about him and his character that he still wants to play football too.
Yeah.
And that he's not like, I'm just going to hang it up after this horrible year at Nebraska, not playing my best, but I still want to play football. I think that says a lot about who he is.
Or something to prove attitude.
Maybe something to prove. I don't know if he would go down a level either. Like, I think he could find not a Power 5 program, but I think he could find
a Group of 5 job.
Yeah, a Group of 5 team that could use him in his athleticism. I mean, the potential is always there for the athlete that he is. Yeah, I don't know what he needs, but I hope he finds it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's guidance. He needs guidance for one, but he just also needs development. And for somebody of his age, I don't know if it's worth.
Have you missed the mark?
I just don't know if it's worth the time.
Yeah,
because you don't get time with a guy like him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be curious to see where he ends up. Not that it's really going to change my mind about how I feel about Jeff Sims. I still think he was not a good quarterback at Nebraska, and there were moments that cost Nebraska a bowl game this year, and a lot can be attributed to what Jeff Sims did on the football field, but also not all the blame lands on him, because there were other moments Nebraska had throughout the season where they could have won a bowl game where Jeff Sims wasn't on the field and just didn't because of other moments and other
there was a lot of things.
Yeah,
sure.
there was a ton of wrong that went this season. But the good news is, as we talked about to open the entire show, Nebraska's doing a very good job of working the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
They've set a good pace for themselves. They're talking to the biggest names, and it's important to bring in a big name. Not just somebody that you're like, hey, he's my diamond in the rough. You tried that with Jeff Sims.
We've done that.
Let's bring in somebody now that's a proven guy that can, at least sell some tickets early. Give me the David Justice approach in Moneyball. Sell some tickets and also find ways to win football games because of just what he brings to the table. And that's a guy like Kyle McCord who they're talking to. There's word that they're talking to Cam Ward, even though Cam Ward is probably going to go to a bigger program than Nebraska right now, because Cam has worked himself up to that status.
Mm-hmm. You can carry this over to the next segment if you don't want to play Shane's World.
No,
Shane's World sounds great.
We're just wrapping up some thoughts here, Shane. But we appreciate the thoughts.
I need to play Shane's World, in fact.
Yeah,
this is how you guys get initiated.
Oh no!
Show. All right, we'll do that when we come back. Shane's World, SHANE, which means Shane Schillerberg. It's all on you. We'll do that next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Shane's World, party time, excellent.
Okay, right, excellent. Woo! Okay. All right, you're the music. That means it's time for Shane's World. The two newbies in the chair get to play the game. I'll play too. We had a little fumble-rooski over in Shane's corner. Shane dropped the box of jelly beans, and only
I apologize
we're
for
gonna
that.
say like 12 beans survived the floor. So that's all we have left in the case, and that's all we'll be playing with. Here's how the game works. We will give Shane a prompt as an example. One we've done before. We did Mountain Dew flavors. And so we would say, Shane, how many Mountain Dew flavor? Well, it would be, Shane, name as many Mountain Dew flavors as you can in 10 seconds.
Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew.
No, he did not get more than two, by the way.
Okay.
He drinks Mountain Dew every day.
Was it regular and diet? Was those the two he got?
No, he
Does
didn't
that
say
even
diet.
count as a flavor?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does diet count?
Diet
Real
Mountain Dew.
Sugar, Voodoo.
Yeah, he had
Code Red.
He had
Code Red
a
would be
Mountain
Dew.
Code Red.
He had a
probably the only
Mountain
one I
Dew
know.
in front of him and didn't even say his flavor of that Mountain Dew.
I'm impressed.
So keep that in mind when we're playing this game. But before we even get that far, we have to number how many Shane can get. Okay, it's going to be a 1v1 game, so one person can sit out. So if I say to one of you guys, I show you the prompt and say it's Mountain Dew flavors, I would then say I think Shane can get two. And if I'm playing against Connor Connor, you would either have to follow up with, I think Shane can name 3, 4, whatever, how many number you think he can get, or you say party on to that number. Let's say you say party on for the sake of the example. Then we'll put a timer on for 10 seconds. The player not playing will have the 10-second timer on the clock. And we'll say, Shane, name as many Mountain Dew flavors as you can in 10 seconds. Boom, timer starts. He has to start naming them. Okay? Keep the count. We tell Shane to go over total because there are things he says that don't count. And if he gets there and Connor told me to party on, then Connor has to eat a bean. If he doesn't get there, then I have to eat a bean. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It'll make more sense.
Do we have to eat the beans on the floor?
No. Although if they are good ones, I'd rather eat those than the ones in here.
Me too.
Oh, no.
So we'll start with I should let the newbies play first, right? Shane, is that how that works? Should I escape?
Whatever you want.
Or should I be forced to play?
No, you have to play. This is your game.
All right, Anna, then you're playing against me. Connor, you get to sit out.
All right.
So, Connor, will you pull up a 10-second timer on your phone?
I certainly
Anna, let's do let's do this first prompt right here. Okay. I'll let you choose. How many do you think Shane can name in 10 seconds?
3.
Oh, come on, Shane.
Can you name 3?
I don't know. I work hard at school.
I feel like Shane could name 3.
Well,
I think he could name 4.
Okay.
Do you think he could name 5 or no?
No.
So say party on.
Party on.
Shane, you better be able to name 4, man.
Sorry,
And if I overthought this, I'm gonna be so mad. So mad. Okay. Shane, in 10 seconds, you got the timer ready?
I'm ready.
In 10 seconds, name as many instruments in a marching band.
Trombone, saxophone, drums, flute.
Keep going.
Snare drum.
Okay, a saxophone in a marching band.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Really?
I played saxophone in a marching band when I was in middle school.
Yes, guys.
Yeah, I will give him that one.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I don't know much about marching
Come
band.
on, baby.
Okay, so now I spin the wheel and I see if I get a bad jelly bean or a good one. Which is
so you
birthday
got
cake. We might not even have the available flavors.
Yeah, because Shane dropped that on the ground. Just spin it again.
Should I just pick one?
I'll say
just pick one,
roulette.
Whatever. All right, what do you got there?
Strawberry, banana smoothie, or dead fish. Jesus.
Oh, no.
Come on, Anna.
Oh, yeah. We're good.
Strawberry banana smoothie?
Yep.
Unbelievable. You guys in your beginner's luck. Okay, well, Anna, you got to play again against Connor because you lost. So the next one we'll do is the bottom one here.
Bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
The bottom one.
Ooh.
Okay.
Don't overthink it.
I'm going to say Shane can name 4.
That's overthinking.
I'm going to say 5.
That's way overthinking.
Party on.
Let's
party
go.
on.
Okay.
Come on, man.
All right, Shane. All right, I'll do the timer.
Yeah, you got it.
I'll do the timer. Shane, in 10 seconds, I'm going to do the stopwatch here.
Oh, there you go.
In 10 seconds, name as many farm animals as you can.
Cows, pigs, horses, goats, sheep, chicken, dogs, cats.
Keep going. That was a slam dunk. Shane is on his game today.
I got annihilated.
Let's go.
Oh, baby. The only one you can't pick is the blue one in the middle because that's normally good and bad. It's toothpaste and berry blue.
The fun part of this is I'm actually very colorblind. I don't know if you know that about me.
No way.
Yeah, I am very colorblind.
Can you not see it?
Most of them look pretty identical to me. So I'm just
You just see gray.
No, not gray, but like they
if
all
he picks the blue one out of the middle, I'm not believing anything.
Well, I just
said.
didn't pick from the middle. Like that wasn't easy. So I don't know what that looks like, but
that looks like this.
Oh no,
you look like you're either eating peach or barf.
Oh great, that's a barf for sure.
I'm gonna say peach or barf.
Okay,
peach or barf.
And you said 3 choose if it's a bad one.
3 choose if it's a bad one.
Oh, it's peach.
Oh wow!
What is happening?
We got lucky.
Mm-hmm. I feel really good about myself.
This is
But you're winning.
well, Anna won, so you're out. Connor and I. We'll
Let's
do
go.
one more round. Shane, can you cool it, man?
What am I doing?
Like you're too good today. It's like you had your Thanksgiving break.
We're gonna do this thing again. We're gonna keep this thing rolling. Appreciate all y'all.
There's no way. There's no way. I don't think there's any chance that we get a lot in this category.
I don't think
for you guys, that day is not today.
I'm gonna say Shane can't get any.
I'm gonna say he can name one.
They got a pickle.
Well, if I think you can't get any, and you think one, I'm gonna say party on.
All right,
Shane, in 10 seconds.
Why the is Shane walking in there? Tommy Frazier.
You ready?
We maybe.
In 10 seconds, name as many Gatorade flavors as you can.
Orange.
Unbelievable.
Watermelon. Glacier freeze.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe he pulled off a glacier
I knew the
freeze
glacier
there.
freeze was going to come.
I
That's
thought-
the best
my
one.
I thought lemon lime was gonna get in there, or fruit
Oh,
punch.
lemon lime. Yeah, fruit punch.
That is.
Can I pick it for you?
I kind of like the color of this guy. What is this one?
I'm too exhausted
feel
from
like I've
being
had these too many
amazing
times.
yesterday.
Oh,
Tutti
no.
Frutti?
I had the stinky socks before, and it's not good.
I can't imagine it would be.
Tutti Frutti or stinky socks. You know I'm going to get it. No way. Tutti Frutti.
Oh, my.
Did Shane
look at
dump
us.
out all the bad
Nope,
ones?
it's stinky socks.
Is
No,
it?
wait. I don't know.
How do you
I
not
feel
know?
like, Shane, didn't I have this problem last time? I'm not putting that back in my mouth.
I don't know.
It doesn't smell good. That smells like stinky socks.
We
Yeah.
maybe.
But the shell tastes Tutti Frutti like.
They fooled you.
Give them nothing.
No, I don't.
Put it back in.
Yeah. Give it
I
another
am
go.
not putting that back.
Give it another
It looks
go.
like a piece of gum now.
Try another one.
Yeah.
I did that once before. I'm not doing it again. No.
Fool me once.
That ain't wet, man.
Nope.
What
Nope.
if you ate all of them at once? What would happen?
Can you believe he got Glacier Freeze? That would be disgusting.
Glacier freeze was a shocker to me. I thought lemon
That
lime
was
for
honestly
sure.
the first one I thought
I
of.
can't believe he even got orange. He got more Gatorade flavors than he did Mountain Dew flavors, and he has that every day. Every day.
Incredible. Shane just coming through today.
Shane, what?
He's on his game.
I'm too exhausted
What'd you do different
from
this
being
morning?
amazing yesterday.
Stop it. Stop it. That's unbelievable.
I don't know if I could be amazing today. I'm too exhausted from being amazing yesterday.
That's about how Shane sounds every day.
Yeah.
Same. That's
Every
his
morning.
voice. That's actually
Yeah.
him.
Mom, get my nuts! Get my nuts!
I can't believe it. All right, I want to address one thing before we go. Got about a minute and a half here on
This smells
on the YouTube
delish.
chat. When I brought up the Tua versus Mahomes thing,
Yes.
it was taken out of context.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
So when I said
We're gonna
that
do this thing again. We're gonna keep this.
Tua has to have someone throw him the football, it wasn't that Tua can't throw him the football. It was that Mahomes can decide everything on his own, and Tua is relying on somebody else.
Tyreek is relying. on
Tyreek.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Tyreek.
I knew what you meant.
That's what I meant via the context of that conversation.
It was not dogging Tua.
It was not dogging even the Dolphins. It was
Yeah.
just that's why I gave the Chiefs the edge.
Because Tyreek needs a quarterback to throw him the ball.
I don't know if he knows
Tyreek-
this. Did you know everyone on the Chiefs also needs a QB to throw them the ball?
No, but Mahomes is the quarterback. Like you guys
Sure.
are missing the point here. Mahomes takes the game and does what he wants with it, right? Tyreek needs the ball in his hands in order to do that. He can't do it unless he has somebody else. He's relying on somebody else to give him the football.
I
It's not that
understand your
Tua
point.
can't.
You have to score more
But-
points than the other team.
That's
Stop it, Andy.
great analysis.
Stop it.
Great analysis.
You guys are now we're leaving. I'm done with you both. I'm done with it. I want Ravi back.
Ravi would never do this to you.
No, Ravi's nice. That's the show for today. If you missed anything, check us out on the Hurrdat Sports podcast. And we got everything into transfer talk. We have great interviews with Brian Christopherson, Omaha Supernovas player, and much more. And join us tomorrow on Hurrdat Sports Radio.